All right. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? What is going on? You guys already know what I'm going to ask. I have a really good suggestion. Let's all like the stream. Snap, thank you for being a Yonko tier member for 10 months, man. Oh, hi, Morji. I did not see you there. Alright. Wonder what you're doing waiting at the stream. Should I keep any hope of you and Ohara working again? I really missed the Wano Report. I hope you have a good day. That is very nice. I've not heard the name Wano Report in, I don't know, like 6 months or something? People do come up and ask about it once in a while in chat and stuff, but it's become less and less frequent, that's for sure. I just haven't spoken to Ohara in like the longest time. Would it even be called the Wano Report now? Or would it be called something else? Because we're kind of past Wano, aren't we? Uchek, thanks for being a member for 10 months. And thank you for being a Pirate King tier member. For those of you who don't know, the new way that Pirate King tier works, that is the highest level possible that you can be on YouTube or on Patreon. Pirate King level, fittingly, obviously. Maybe one day I'll make a Joy Boy level, but Pirate King level is the best level, and that's the level where basically there's an exclusive podcast. So there's the Morj cast, which goes out to everybody who's Yonko tier. That comes out once a week, all my extended thoughts, no matter how controversial. Pirate King level, there's one extra podcast that comes out once a month, which is me talking about something that you guys specifically make me talk about, if that makes sense. I Can Drive, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 3 months, man. Buy a PS5 and stream Spider-Man 1 and 2. Trust me, Luffy's literally Spider-Man. I know how Spider-Man works, man. I know it. I'm not gonna buy a PS5 and then buy two video games, Spider-Man 1 and 2, just to learn what Spider-Man's abilities are. I'm not gonna play it and be like, oh my god, I can't believe he can swing around and shoot webs. That's crazy. It's a lot like Luffy. But I have heard really good things about the Spider-Man games. When I was young, so I often say I had no games when I was a kid. That is true, but I had part of it is because I literally forget. I had a GameCube, right? So the only multiplayer games I had were Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros. Melee. Okay, I got a Wii much later once it was no longer cool to get a Wii when I was in like 11th grade, and the Wii had been out for decades. Not decades, but it had been out for years, right? So mostly I just had a GameCube, so I mainly just played like Smash Bros. Melee and a bit of Mario Kart. But I did have a couple single-player games, which I forgot about. The Zelda games, obviously. But the games I forgot about were Spider-Man. It was like the movie version of Spider-Man, and it was a very jank game. And Shrek 2, which is an amazing game. I'll tell you guys about Shrek 2 at some point. It is the most amazing but broken children's game of all time. Shrek 2 is... Maybe I'll stream Shrek 2 at some point. That was a special game for sure. It holds a special place in my heart. But yeah, I also had the Spider-Man video game, and I played most of it, and then I couldn't beat the Green Goblin. That was the final boss, so then I dropped it. Evan Johnson, thanks for the 2. When is the big Wano video coming out? Soon. As soon as I get my vacation time. Which isn't like real office vacation time, but more like I need a mental break for a few days and feel very relaxed, and then I can finish some stuff that I've been putting off for a long ass time. Julian Criswell, thanks for the 2. Will Blackbeard versus Strahd be easy like Strahd versus Beast Pirates? I mean, Strahd versus Beast Pirates was only easy for... It wasn't easy. It was like hard for Zoro and Sanji, wasn't it? And obviously Luffy. It's really just a straightforward fight for like Jinbei, Frankie, even Black Maria. When she got serious, it was pretty quick. Hans Ding says sound scaling means Aokiji equals Prime Garp. What? How are you picking up on that from this? Isn't it the complete opposite? Isn't it really clear that Prime Garp shits on pretty much everybody? Not everybody, but like everybody not named Roger and Whitebeard at this point. Daniel Allen, thanks for the 5. Have you seen Bohemian Rhapsody? No. Thoughts on the movie and Rami Malek as an actor? Also, please do 5 minutes review on Spider-Verse on Movie Morj. I still haven't seen Spider-Verse, man. I really, really want to. I think maybe I'll take some time if I get time this weekend to watch it, because I really want to. It's just been a packed stretch of, I don't know, last couple weeks. Bohemian Rhapsody I've not seen. I'm usually not that interested in biopics. Like, biopics, however you want to pronounce it. Hold on, there were a couple supers that I missed towards the beginning. usually I don't think that they're great exercises in originality for the most part. I think they're more so just, they're like directors playing it safe for the most part to try and win an Oscar. There are some biopics that I really, really respect, because I think that they do try and combine a lot of artistry or at least interesting narrative ideas and just use certain historical figures as like an opportunity to do so. But then I think like 95% of biopics are pretty boring. Like, I'm not even interested in Oppenheimer because I believe it'll be a really good movie. I just don't know if it'll be, I don't know how much of it is going to be, you know, an exercise in, let's say, like, how much of it is going to be Christopher Nolan just being like, please give me the Best Director Oscar, versus him trying to do something really bold and innovative. From what I understand, it's being marketed as very innovative, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, the trend for biopics is the the opposite of what I try to spend time watching movies on. Plus, I haven't had time to just watch movies in general these days. K-Boo, thanks for the 5. What's the lore on the Adventure Time Penguin as the super chat alert? The lore? I love the content. What does that mean? The Adventure Time Penguin as the super chat alert? Is that from Adventure Time? I just picked it. I've only seen one episode of Adventure Time ever, although I've seen some YouTube clips. I didn't know it's from Adventure Time. I just picked it because that's one of the options that there is in Streamlabs. Love the content. I work nights and always listen to the streams the next day. Oh, that's nice. Good to hear. Knut Worgen, thanks for the 5. Do you think the Gorosei will fight outlier top tiers, i.e. Rayleigh, Sengoku, Mihawk, Dawn Krieg, etc.? I don't know. Because at this point, here's what's tricky. We spent so many years kind of establishing how strong the Admirals are because we got to see them fight a lot of characters. How strong Yonko are because we kind of get examples to scale them off of, right? With new figures, Gorosei, God's Knights, even the Seraphim are getting to fight people right now. With new figures like Gorosei and God's Knights, it's just like, we're gonna need to get some matchups fit in pretty quick to understand where the hell we should be scaling some of these figures. I mean, even the Seraphim, they're already getting some stuff, you know? Okay, I missed this towards the beginning. Andrew McCarty asked where to read the color One Piece. I'll drop it into the chat once. Schmike the Melts, thanks for the 2. Proud of you for changing the time, Morj. Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to get better about that. Also, Lafitte number 1. Lafitte, I think, is going to be one of the stronger pirates in the Stride crew, honestly. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Here's how we're doing it, by the way. 1, let's get the stream likes to 200. 2, you know what? I'll explain how we're doing the scaling in a second, because I think it'll be actually interesting. I say actually as though you guys have some reason not to think it's interesting, but I definitely think it'll be a fun look back through the history of the Blackbeard pirates to figure this shit out. Okay, I'm gonna drop the digital colored comics into the chat once, so you guys understand, because I personally think that once you go to reading One Piece in color, you can't go back. It's so much nicer in color. To me, maybe this is partly why I don't even feel the need to ever keep up with the anime anymore. Because One Piece in color, it is so much nicer looking than the anime. On average, you know what I mean? Like, obviously when you've got some great directors and stuff like that going ham on certain animation scenes, then the anime looks beautiful. But, you know, if I want to look at a colored slideshow, which is what the majority of the anime is, then I would rather just read it, you know? Enderai Nami, thank you, man. You know, I don't say this enough, but you're one of my longest term supporters and one of my favorite people to see in chat. Thank you for being a Pirate King tier member for the past 10 months, man. Monthly reminder to read Fire Punch, which I've still not yet done. You know what I actually want to read real quick? I could even react to it, maybe this stream if people are interested, but I feel like people won't be. I kind of want to read the Fourth Hokage one-shot that Kishimoto put out, just because I like Minato in that series. And you guys know I'm not like a huge Naruto person, but I'm curious about that. Here's a topical question. Would other Yonko and their first mates, notably Kaido and King, struggle against the baby Seraphim like Luffy and Zoro currently are? I think that's a very difficult question to answer because we can't tell if Luffy and Zoro are being made to struggle against these characters right now for plot reasons. By plot reasons, I mean just to like fake some tension, or if they legitimately are stuck. So, if we cut back to Egghead in a little bit, and Oda just has Luffy and Zoro bust out Advanced Conqueror's Haki and they one-shot them, right? If that happens, then it's like, okay, well, that could have technically just happened way earlier. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, remember when Luffy struggled against the Boa Hancock sisters, right? Marigold and Sandersonia for a few chapters before it's like, okay, let's have him do Gear Second and then take him out, right? So you can't use Luffy's initial struggle against them to be like, see, Lucci would have so much trouble, or CP9 would have so much trouble against these sisters, because it's like, no, once Luffy went tryhard, he wrecked him, right? Same thing with, like, the Minotaur, or, like, so many other examples you can think of through the story where a main character is made to struggle before getting a little bit serious, because that's just the way you kind of need to write things sometimes to just have a bit of, have a bit of an obstacle, right, that doesn't get solved immediately. If you write the main character always at their peak potential, then that means that any new obstacle the main character runs into has to immediately be greater than whatever the last person is, right? So it would be like, from now on, every person Luffy runs into has to be basically Kaido's level or up, otherwise Luffy can basically, we know Luffy's too good for him and Luffy can go Gear 5th and advance Conqueror's Haki and win right away, but Oda has to manufacture some struggle, right? So, with the Seraphim right now, what I would say is we don't know yet if we're supposed to interpret this as, hey, Luffy and Zoro are legitimately trying. Maybe they've even been using advanced Conqueror's Haki and Oda's just been very unclear about it and it's still not working. In that case, yeah, I think Kaido and King would... There's no reason that we would expect that they would... There's nothing that they've shown that would indicate they'd be able to damage them if Luffy's been using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Like, why would King be able to damage one of them if Luffy's been using Advanced Conqueror's Haki and, it hasn't been working? So, but my assumption would just be that that's not the case. My assumption would be that most of the Yonko would be perfectly fine against these Seraphim, and Luffy and Zoro basically just not going as hard as they could for plot purposes right now, I would think. I think we come back to this question later. Once we get to see more of the Seraphim. Ooh, thanks for the 10. UFO hearings at the end of the month with important whistleblowers. Some say a major global event will happen very, very soon. Man, you always get my hopes up, and then I remember it's you, and I'm just like, I can't believe you. Bobby D. Blizzard, thanks for the 5. Nolan said that in color portions of Oppenheimer will be Oppenheimer's subjective view of things. Black and white will be objective. Alright, cool. Oh my god, I see so many people talking about Barbie and Oppenheimer. I don't even know what to say. I think it's just like the most random marketing thing that is, for whatever reason, working, and people are like buying into the meme really hard of Barbie and Oppenheimer, Barbenheimer, etc. I don't know. Like, okay. I think it's just a marketing meme that was wildly successful, and it kind of annoys me how much people are just like, oh, Barbenheimer, right? Hashtag Barbenheimer, I'm gonna watch them both. It's like, dude, you don't have to. Just because some dumbass marketing scheme worked. You don't have to watch both of them. I don't know. In fact, I would say just watch one of them. Just watch what you actually want to watch. Or watch neither, like I would probably do. If I had to guess between the two, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Barbie's probably going to be a more creative movie, but I might be underestimating how artsy Christopher Nolan wants to go with Oppenheimer. Because, again, usually biopics are more tame works by most directors that tackle them, because they're trying to play it safe just to win an Oscar, basically. That's usually why directors do that type of shit, which annoys me. Daniel Allen, thanks for the 5. What about Slumdog Millionaire? Just curious if you're generally interested in films that follow Indian protagonists. I mean, I used to watch Bollywood films when I was young, because my parents would watch them. I'm definitely not, like, I think it'd be cool, like, I didn't watch, like, Aladdin, just because it has, it's just Slumdog Millionaire I thought was a good movie just because I thought it was a good movie. But I also haven't seen it in a long ass time. So I don't know if I think it's a good movie now. I saw it when I was way younger. Yeah. Hawkbach, thanks for the 2. Am I your least favorite because I exposed that you're 4'2"? Yeah, I don't want anyone finding out that my actual height is 4 feet 2 inches. Keenan says they don't know about the Shrek 2 game, Morj. Tell him. It was even better if you had someone to play co-op with. Okay, that's the thing. Shrek 2 is not fun to play by yourself. It might be if I stream it for you guys. I gotta explain it to you now. Alright, Shrek 2. The video game, right? So, it's mainly just fun if you have someone else to play it with. So I could play it with my sister, but I also played it a lot with my friends in the neighborhood. And luckily, it's a 4-player game, and I had 3 good friends in the neighborhood. And here's the thing about Shrek 2. All right, so this game was an insane, like, how do I even explain this? So it was fun if you had co-op, right? You can tell from the graphics that it doesn't exactly hold up the best, right? But the main thing that I will never forget about this game is that you can play as 4 characters, right? So you can play as, this is level 1. So level 1 you can play as Shrek, Donkey, Fiona, Gingerbread Man. Later on you pick up characters such as Little Red Riding Hood, Puss in Boots, shit like that. Okay, so here's the fun thing. It's like a beat-em-up game. You do quests and all that shit. You fight Fairy Godmother, all that stuff. But every character has special abilities. And here's the thing. Shrek's special ability, it's pretty straightforward. He can lift things. He can, like, lift barrels and throw them. Donkey's special ability, it's like a really big kick. Gingerbread Man's special ability, he can throw a cookie that can lure certain animals, right? So all pretty much straightforward stuff. Fiona. So her special ability, you know what it was? Fiona's special ability was stopping time. It was literally... It was very literally, like, it was just, she could do this, okay? For no fucking reason at all. She could just do this. I'm trying to explain to you guys, like, how bizarre that is. But in a game where, I'm screen sharing, right? In a game where, like, every other character has a really fucking tame, straightforward ability that makes sense. Like, okay, I'm Shrek. I can lift a barrel to move something out of our way. I'm Donkey. I can kick something to move, like, some shit along or whatever. I'm Gingerbread Man. I can throw a cookie to lure over, like, an animal that we can do something with or whatever. And then Fiona's literally got, like, one of the most broken-ass abilities in all of fiction. So when I'm playing with friends, my neighborhood friends, right? Everybody fucking wanted to be Fiona because she could stop time. Let me clarify. So it's not literally just stopping time. It's severely slowing down time to the point that everybody is moving at like a nanosecond per minute, or no, like a nanometer per minute, right? The whole game gets fucked up. Everything's just like warped and slow-mo-y and everything like that, and it lasts for like a good 30 seconds in real world time. All right? That is too much power for one 10-year-old to have. Okay? Because I'm playing with my friends, we're all like in elementary school or whatever, and my ability is to throw a fucking cookie to lure over like cats and shit. And my other friend, he can like lift barrels and stuff like that, and like Puss in Boots can like walk on a tightrope wire if we ever run into a fucking tightrope wire that needs to be walked across. And then the oldest friend in our group, he would always claim Fiona because he's the oldest, so he kind of gets rights, and that's just how kids shit works. He would claim Fiona, and then immediately just slow down time to fuck with us whenever he wanted. And it really ruined the game for me quite a bit, because I always wanted to progress in our objectives and stuff, and he always just wanted to fuck up us progressing towards our objectives. And also the time stop had a very low cooldown, so he could do it whenever he wanted. So sometimes he would just spam it, sometimes he'd hold on to it for a while, and then whenever we were making some progress, he'd be like, never mind, let's ruin the game for 30 more seconds. And we were all just fucking stuck in frozen time for 30 seconds. I don't know how to explain this to you, but the game was a ton of fun because of how frustrated it made me. At the time, it was a nightmare, because it was clearly, like, it's probably top 10 least balanced games ever made. You can't just have one character in a 4-player kids game be able to have an ability that's just a button that says ruin the game for everyone else and not expect one kid to wildly abuse it, especially when that kid always got to choose. He's still my friend to this day, by the way. I haven't seen him in a minute, but like, like we're family, like our families know each other very well, etc. He might even be watching this stream. I don't know. But yeah, the game was memorable for how fucked up the game was. The time stop ability it really, like, I don't know. It was a stand in a game where nobody else had stands, and it was the strongest stand of all time. So, just some insight into the type of games I played when I was a kid. Anyway, where are we at? Are we ranking the Blackbeard pirates? Is that what we're doing? Name, thanks for upgrading your membership to Pirate King tier. For those of you who don't know what that is, let me repeat. You get an exclusive podcast, exclusive just to you. So there's a weekly podcast called the Morj, which goes out to all Yonko tier members. For Pirate King tier members, there's one more exclusive podcast that comes out at the end of the month, just for you guys, where you guys make me talk about a subject that you want me to talk about. Anyway, Uwu says, it's a process, Morjueño. Look at how far we've come on the topic since 2017. Google Chuck Schumer UAP for proof. Look, I like to believe that we have aliens and stuff like that, but I really want to believe it, but there's never that strong evidence, you know? At least from what I see. I would love if somebody just, like, was able to present me with some real solid shit, but I haven't seen it yet, personally. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 2. Hope you're doing good. What's your favorite game show? My favorite game show? There was a show that I really liked for how bad it was, which was, like, okay, so in college, we watched, like, there was just someone's room who we hung out with and stuff like that, where we would watch, like, shows that would come on that were really bad. Like, game shows and stuff that would come on. There was some stuff that was, like, Baggage, which was hilarious. There was, because it was a dating show where, like, each person secretly had something really fucked up about them, and then you find out at the end. Oh, there's a game called Idiot Test, which was a bad game show, but it was hosted by the creepiest person in the world named Ben Glebe. So it was fun just to watch how weird and creepy Ben Glebe was each week. But I was never a big game show person in general. Kino the Far, thanks for the 5. The other day I had a dream that Carrot was still in the barrel. I cried. What? Because she's still on the crew? What? Where'd the name Morj come from? Would Puss in Boots have Conquerors hockey? Morj came from, like, I made, like, a channel when I was, like, a kid that is now gone, which was, like, Morj, which was, like, just random, like, home video type stuff. Because when I was a kid, Smosh was popular, so I was like, I'll just make a name out of some random bullshit, too. Morj, you know, you can kind of see, like, Smosh. What's another random made-up name? Like, Morj. It just seemed similar in my head. Thought that was the key to being successful at YouTube. Eric WSZE23. God damn, dude, your name is terrible. Morj, scaling, this is going to be hilarious. Hilariously correct? I'm still like, I'll still go back and look through the Kaido stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, I think it's fairly clear that there are no good responses to the Kaido video other than people really, really wanting their headcanon to be correct regarding Kaido just being... I really think that part of it is just like, people just have this issue with Luffy actually surpassing his opponents. They just do. It's crazy. They're just like, they don't like the idea of Luffy actually deserving victories. I think because like, when you're in the middle of an arc, you spend so long, like, hyping up the villain, right? Like, just sucking off how strong the villain is. Like, we spent so long getting hyped for Kaido. It just feels weird that, like, you know, our guy Luffy, damn, he actually, like, in Gear 50, he can actually kick Kaido's ass. That's kind of crazy to think about. It feels too sudden. So I get it, but, like, going off just, like, your feelings of what, like, I don't like the idea that Luffy's Gear 5 is stronger than Kaido, and using that to just, like, reach and grasp at straws over and over again to be like, well, this thing and this thing and this thing, when all of that's contradicted by the actual story. That's, I think, my biggest problem with like, One Piece power scaling, at least from what I see in general. It's the same thing you see with, like, Law and Kid. It's just like, no, it feels like Law should be... It feels like he should be stronger than Marco by now or something. It's like, based on fucking what? Like, do you know how much shit Marco's done throughout the story? You know how many people Law is at? Like, do you understand how little Law has actually accomplished over the course of the story, whereas Marco has fought pretty much every single top tier and looked good while doing it, and actually made some of them, such as Big Mom, straight up run away, whereas Law needed a partner plus 10,000 tons of TNT plus like a million trillion um lucky breaks to just drop her down a fucking hole. Like, that's my biggest problem with One Piece power scaling. Too much of it is just based on like people wanting certain or like having hyped up a certain character in their head too much, and then ignoring basically how things are actually written. Goomba Boomba, thanks for the 5. Update on God of War. I haven't picked up God of War in a bit. I just didn't. The game. Okay. I'll say this. I think that I'm seeing more why people like the writing around it. I am seeing that. Let's get the stream likes to 200 real quick. I'm seeing more why people like the writing around it because I just went through a little scene where the Kratos enters some black and white world basically, and he hears his kid's thoughts, etc., about how the kid feels about him and the mother, etc. And I actually thought that was a really nice scene. I get why people kind of like the writing a bit more now. Before, towards the beginning, I thought it was really generic. Now I'm seeing there's more potential there. But at the end of the day, the gameplay just really isn't doing it for me at all. I just don't find the combat fun. I don't find the combat fun. I don't find the exploration fun at all because it's not really exploration. There's not really puzzle. I find it just very like, I don't have a problem with linear games, right? Like, I'm not saying everything needs to be like open world or anything like that. Like, you know, I compare it again to Sekiro. Sekiro is a linear game for the most part, but it's totally different from God of War, where it just feels like I'm walking in a line all the time to a baby ABC puzzle, which I do. I spend like a minute, 2 minutes doing the baby ABC puzzle or whatever, like doing the little things that you have to do for it. Then you're onto a random horde of enemies that are like a reskin of the last group of enemies. You take care of them. You do a cutscene. You walk down a line. Baby puzzle, horde of enemies. Nothing is engaging. I'm almost dreading. Like, there's just no. Like, I'm almost like, when I beat a group of enemies in God of War, I don't feel like a rush of like joy at having overcome them. I'm kind of like, okay, got that over with. Cool. Now I at least get a little bit of a break before I have to do that again with another little horde of enemies. That's me with God of War right now. I can understand if people really just like the story aspect, but I'm just not clicking with how the combat works for it. Because even if the combat is good, I just don't like the way it's applied, which is just to fight just little mobs that are the same thing over and over again to me. Yeah. You're saying excited for Gear 5th in the anime. Hopefully they'll lean more on the Tom and Jerry rubber hose animation style instead of the recent DBZ style. Tom and Jerry rubber hose animation style. Yeah, I think they will though, right? That's what most of us are. That's the whole point of Gear 5th, right? To be the opposite of the entire concept of Gear 5th is to be the total opposite of the typical DBZ-esque power up. So I hope they realize that auras are a big. You put a big X through the auras for this, and then lean into a totally different animation style, which is the point of Gear 5th, right? Because if they do a DBZ style, then it's no longer, then you're just ripping off DBZ instead of actually being unique for the purpose that, for what Gear 5th was made to be, made the purpose of Gear 5th in terms of how it was meant to stand out. You're kind of losing that whole concept, right? If you go DBZ, because the idea is just the whole other end of the spectrum. Now show says, any update on your car? Hear anything from the cops? Yes. So that was actually today. I was going to talk about it at the very beginning of the stream, but then we just got sidetracked on other shit. Basically, it's long and short of it is, it's been found. It was found actually Friday before I got on my flight to Miami for the bachelor party and everything like that, but it was not found by cops. It was found by a towing company. I have learned over the course of the last week just how little cops care in general and how shitty the system of communication is, how hard it is even just to get a police report from the cops, which Geico needs and everything like that. So I'm going to keep the car stuff short just because we're pretty far into the stream at this point, but found by towing company. I got a call from Geico saying that the towing company had found it, so the police didn't even fill me in on this. Okay, Geico told me on Friday. Got a call from Geico on Friday. It would have been found by a towing company, who then I also communicated with and everything. Today, I went. The car is basically right now not drivable, and the way it worked was the back window was broken into, and the front what do you call it? The steering wheel column. So the entire ignition aspect of it is basically like out of its shell and just like hanging out. And the guy there basically explained to me that so many of the other cars in that towing lot were Hyundais, stolen Hyundais, some that had been stolen twice, because some Hyundais get stolen, then the person goes, repairs it, and then it just gets stolen again because whoever stole it the first time knows that they can just go pick it up again. Everybody steals them because it's easy. It takes like 60 seconds as long as you have the tools to open up the steering column. It's so easy. Apparently you can do it in 60 seconds. So like the three types of people that steal it, apparently, that he commonly, at least this is what I'm hearing consistently from like pretty much everyone. It's like kids, homeless people, criminals. If the car is just found basically somewhere, then it most likely either wasn't a criminal, it was just somebody that did it because they could and wanted to see like what stuff, like either just go for a joyride, which apparently a lot of people just steal for joyrides and stuff and then leave cars. Some people steal just to drive around, see what's inside, maybe do some drugs, etc. inside. Point being, right now my bigger thing is like I've got the mental thing checked off of like, okay, I know where my car is. From here on, it's Geico's kind of call in terms of they're going to tell me, is it totaled or not? Because I couldn't drive it out of there. So it's been left there. They're going to tell me if it's totaled or not. Or it might like be one of those that swings either way. It most likely can be repaired. But the bigger question is, do I want this car? Do I want to try and push for them declaring it totaled and seeing if I can just swap for a different car? Because everywhere I hear, there's not a clean solution to the Hyundai and Kia problem, because there's lots of Kias in that lot too. So it very likely could get stolen again. There's software updates that you can go to for Hyundai, but apparently they're not that useful. The good news is that because of a huge class action lawsuit that happened this year, I get money from Hyundai as well. So it's not just Geico that's paying me money. I'm going to get some thousands of dollars from Hyundai as well out of this, and that could help go towards a new car or something. Like some I need to figure out next steps, basically, because we've checked off finding the car. Whatever happens from here, it's going to be fine. It's just going to be some more paperwork stuff. But the question that I need to kind of make is like, okay, do I try and figure out how to swap to a different car or something like that? Or do I figure out, is there a way that I can make it much more safe to just own a Hyundai? I don't know. I'm going to say right now, I don't recommend buying a Hyundai or a Kia. I really don't recommend it. It's crazy, which is that lots of insurance companies don't want to insure Hyundais or Kias anymore, or if they do, it's at a much higher rate. So, you know, if I'd bought this car this year, like, the price, like, it's a good thing this TikTok trend was discovered this year, because who knows, like, if I had started Geico insurance at a different point, then my insurance rate would be way higher, or if I'd tried to buy a Hyundai at a different point, then, like, yeah, you just don't know. But, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Eric, long last name, says, law made Blackbeard bleed as much as Whitebeard. Dude, this is what I'm talking about. If the fact that you're actually comparing law against... Okay, first of all, no, because if you actually look at the manga, right? Blackbeard... If you go to chapter 576, right? You're saying law made... Okay. One, this is Whitebeard with... Like, do I even need to walk through the state Whitebeard was in at this point in time? Do I, like, what are you talking about here? Do I need to walk through? You're actually comparing Law's performance against Blackbeard as... against Whitebeard's performance against Blackbeard, because Whitebeard at literally 0.5% of health, right? This is Whitebeard on his deathbed, right? This is what Blackbeard's literally talking about right before he arrives, right? I shouldn't have to explain this. We've all watched and read Marine Ford, right? So immediately, it's not like, oh, Law and Whitebeard both had very long, drawn-out, high-difficulty fights against Blackbeard. Whitebeard one-shots Blackbeard. Whitebeard with 0% health one-shots Blackbeard, right? This is Whitebeard with basically 0% health. He's on his deathbed. He's literally missing half his head, right? The fight's over. It's literally over. Whitebeard, he made him bleed as much as Black. This is the type of people that power scale in the One Piece community. It's all just based on shit that you want to say. There's no context. There's no actual look. Like, what? The fight's over. Whitebeard literally defeats him instantly. It's over. He's literally begging for his life. This is it. That's it. The battle's over. What are you talking about? If you want to make an argument, you can at least talk about, well, Blackbeard now has the Guru Guru no Mi, which is a whole different situation. But, like, come on. Come on, be serious. Aether, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 4 months. End of Katakuri's and Kaido's fights caused lots of issues. It's not that folks don't want Luffy to grow, but if it's rushed, it'll get lame real quick. I mean, like, the Katakuri fight, it's even crazier that people pushed for the idea that Luffy hadn't surpassed Katakuri. Because Kaido, if you want to debate it, you can, I suppose, really, like, if you want to ignore all character dialogue and stuff, you can argue, like, look, Kaido is really injured. But the thing is, once Luffy used Snake Man against Katakuri, Luffy was way, like, that is objectively true. Luffy was 1,000,000 times more injured than Katakuri because Luffy had spent the entire fight taking hits. By the time Luffy finally got Future Sight, right? So if we're saying in a rematch, Luffy fresh, but he starts the fight with Future Sight versus Katakuri with Future Sight. There's no debate. Luffy at the end of Whole Cake Island would have been stronger than Katakuri if they did a fresh rematch. Because by the time Luffy got Future Sight, by the time he developed that and got to the same footing as Katakuri where they could both use Future Sight, at that point in time, objectively, no matter how much of an anti-Luffy person you are, how much of a Katakuri dicksucker you are, you cannot deny that at that point, once they both got Future Sight, Luffy was 1,000,000 times more injured because that's what had been happening in the last 20 fucking chapters. It was just 20 chapters of Luffy getting his ass kicked. People say it's messy and stuff like that, but it's really not if you just look at what happened or read what happened. Like, if Oda's telling you, Luffy's about to die, Luffy's at the end of his rope, he has Kaido say it, he has Luffy say it, he has Momonosuke say it, take it as is. Luffy's more injured than Kaido. Alright? It's pretty straightforward, man. I don't know what to say. So this is the thing. So Aether says, and I think this is the real problem with power scaling, but it's not that folks don't want Luffy to grow, but if it's rushed, it'll get lame real quick. So that's where it is. That's the truth about how people view One Piece power scaling and Luffy's growth. If it's rushed, it'll get lame real quick. It's not about what objectively happens over the course of the fight. It's that people don't like the idea of Luffy getting there so fast. So they actually try and do mental gymnastics to say that, no, it's like, you know, yeah, Luffy got a lot stronger, but it's not like it's like too fast or anything. Like, it still feels right because of all these other complicating factors and stuff. It's like, yeah, but you can still look at where Luffy was at the end of the fight, how handicapped he was at the end of the fight, compare the two, etc., right? If your argument is that it feels lame, if it feels too rushed, that's a feelings argument, which is perfectly fine, but then that means that you're basically putting everything in a framework of, I don't want Luffy to get this strong this quick, so I'm going to try and think and look for excuses to say that the villain was still stronger at the end of the fight, which isn't a real argument. And I think that's what most people look at Luffy's fights through the lens of. So most people are looking at the fights through the lens of, we don't want Luffy to be there just yet. And that's why I can't take most arguments that seriously. Virgil Hawkins has missed an 8-month Pirate King member message. Oh, shit. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, man. Thank you for being a Pirate King tier member. Thank you for supporting me for 8 months. This is from Jade FW. Hi, Morj. Love the God Valley and Lily videos. Yeah, I like both those videos for sure. Kind of old news, but any ideas on how Oda could have rehyped Shanks after Wano without making Green Bull or Kid look bad? I feel like Oda doesn't want... I feel like the way that Oda's portraying Green Bull already suggests that he's the admiral that Oda's kind of picked out as the one that's okay to kind of shit on. I think similar to how Oda did Jack, you know? So I think Oda's already in a place where he doesn't want to de-hype Kizaru because Kizaru's headed over to Egghead right now to have a fight with Luffy. Or Zoro or Sanji, right? So you don't want to take away Kizaru's hype. Fujitora, it feels almost wrong to disrespect just because of the type of character he is, which is, he's a likable character, he's an honorable character. We like Fujitora. We don't want to see him embarrassed the way Green Bull was. So if it's any one character, I think it had to be Green Bull that got that treatment because, you know, the other Yonko, Kaido, and Big Mom are done for. Blackbeard, we're still trying to build up as an endgame villain, so just embarrassing him like that by Shanks. You know, Shanks already had a moment where he scared off Blackbeard in Marineford itself, so I don't think that's quite right. And as for Kid, I think doing that to Kid was perfect. Because Kid is like, either Kid's story actually ends right here, in which case having it happen to Shanks, I think, works well because it's dramatic, it closes out Kid's story surprisingly, and it hypes up Shanks quite a bit. Or Kid is meant to make a really epic resurgence, in which case it's good for both characters because, you know, Kid is set up to have a good comeback story, but it's still hyped up Shanks a lot. Kid will get his hype later. That's how I think. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 2. Who has the most broken fruit on Blackbeard's crew besides Blackbeard? I think we're going to take a look at that today. So I think that that's something, honestly, we're going to answer over the course of this stream. So just wait a little bit and we'll talk about it. But I don't see, off the top of my head, any immediately broken fruits. I would think that in certain hands, Katarina Devon's fruit, if her fruit was in the hands of a hockey user, could be very, very strong. But I think she's maybe not being written to be like that. Flame, thanks for the 5. Mork, I'm surprised you never got a razor/beard trimmer sponsor. It would fall in line with Keeps. I've gotten Manscaped offers before, but a lot of things changed when I swapped. I got sponsored. I got a managing group basically. So I work with Table Rock Management. So a lot of things, like in terms of potential sponsors and stuff like that, shifted over to whatever sponsors work with Table Rock specifically. So when you're a free agent, right? When you're a free agent, then you're getting from all sorts of groups. When you work with a specific managing group, then you work with the groups that they already have associations with. So that's just the way it is. I think that working with Table Rock has been really good for me overall, though, just because it's so nice to have other people just take care of the work of communicating with brands and everything like that. Bachira, thanks for the 2. Can Luffy keep Gear 5th long enough with Kaido full HP? If that's the argument that people want to go with, I would love for people to roll with that. That's all I'm saying, because that's even what I talk about at the end of the video. If people want to roll with that argument. But that's not the argument that people used prior to this, for the most part. Prior to this, it was all about, like, who's more injured, etc. Bench pressing Onigashima, which was headcanon and proven false in the story, literally demonstrated in the final clash. It was a lot of arguments that didn't actually apply. Kaido could have dodged Bajrangun, which only applies if you ignore the entire rest of the chapter where it's established that he could not, in fact, do that. If people want to roll with the argument that, like, it's not yet proven that Luffy's stamina could hold out Gear 5th long enough, I think that's a great argument, because I think that's Kaido's real greatest strength. He certainly does not have the best haki. Shanks and Garp and such, it's pretty obvious pretty quick that other characters have better haki than Kaido does. Even Kaido himself is talking about, like, there's another level, like Roger's level of haki, right? So Kaido does not have the best haki. His Devil Fruit is really good, but it's probably not, like, the best Devil Fruits. Like, Blackbeard probably has better Devil Fruits. I think Kaido's biggest thing going for him is definitely his stamina. I think that's probably higher than any other character that we've seen so far in the story. Yeah, Flame says One Piece power scaling is scuffed because people ignore story and care more about feats. I mean, I think things like portrayal and narrative purpose and stuff definitely matter. But once you start getting into, I think that matters more when characters don't have a lot of actual action to go off of. Because, you know, if it's like, if you think, let's say you think Kaido has better portrayal than Big Mom, right? But then if Kaido and Big Mom, let's say in the story, then Kaido and Big Mom fight, they go all out, and then Big Mom wins, then you can, that you can't really go off anything else. You know, you have to go off the actual thing that happened in the story. Tom, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 10 months, man. Another issue is that people use BS skewed physics in arguments. Like, no, Luffy isn't faster than light for dodging Foxy's attacks and Pacifista's lasers. Yeah, well, I think those people are outliers. I don't count those people. Those people are like, well, if this stone was thrown fast enough by Horty to, like, cross this distance, then Horty's the physically strongest. Like, you know, that's One Piece physics. It's not the same as real physics. Let's get the stream likes to 300 real quick. Great piece. Thanks for the 279. Do you think Katakuri will save Garp and Pudding? I don't think so. Ren Charger 2000 says, same for the Katakuri fight. Whole Cake Island, Luffy couldn't maintain Gear Forward Snake Man long enough to beat him in a fresh fight. Yeah, but that's assuming Luffy would go Gear Forward Snake Man right away. If you just replayed the fight, Luffy could do the same thing he did in the first place, which was fight in base form, except this time now he's actually landing lots of hits on Katakuri because he has Future Sight too. Like, this is everything that we saw. You literally just have to look at how the fight played out once Luffy started seeing the future, which was Luffy's landing hits, Katakuri's landing more hits. Eventually, Luffy goes Snake Man. They go about even. They've both taken the same amount of damage at that point. They go down, right? But if you replay the fight, and Luffy can do everything he could do right off the bat, well then we know that Luffy's over time going to be dealing more damage before he ultimately finishes things off with Snake Man. Because if that already happened, if it played out that way, with Katakuri having the advantage of beating up on Luffy like a ragdoll for 20 chapters without Luffy having Future Sight, and Luffy was still able to catch up in damage over time, then if you replayed the fight with Luffy not having that handicap, Luffy wins. Yeah, I think we don't need to go back and re-beat a dead horse, which is Luffy versus Katakuri. But I feel like the same way people look at Luffy versus Katakuri and Luffy versus Kaido, I see a lot of similarities there. You really just have to look at, like, Luffy once he got his last power-up versus the villain once they got the last power-up. Who was more injured at that point in time? What were the handicaps there? And how to play out after that. Alright. Let's actually go through this, which is the Blackbeard Pirates. So, we're going to use Microsoft Paint. The reason I think that this is going to be fun for me is because, okay, you guys remember the top 30 stream? So a lot of people were like, Morj, if you watched how I ranked it, right? A lot of people were like, wait, can I use Microsoft Paint? I think I have to use Excel. God damn it, I have to use Google Sheets. The top 30 stream just reminded me. Yeah, with the top 30 stream, a lot of people were like, Morj, why are you ranking from first to last, right? It's more fun to go from 30 to 1. The reason I'm ranking from first to last when I did that stream was because I didn't have a top 30 figured out before doing the stream. That was the point of the stream. It was to figure it out. Okay? I'm not sitting down in my spare time spending an hour like trying to figure out who the top 30 strongest characters in One Piece are when I could do it live. That would just be a tremendous waste of time. That's the whole point of the stream. I don't know. That's why when we're doing the Blackbeard parts today, the reason I say it's fun is because I genuinely haven't thought about it that much. What I want to do is go back through everything we've seen of the Blackbeard pirates. So we're going to take a trip back down memory lane through the manga, see everything about these pirates, what they've been up to, who's done what, how every character's been portrayed, stuff like that. And try and get a gist, and our expectations of who's going to fight who, and get a gist of who makes sense in terms of, like, you know, general order from top down. And people who are crying about portrayal and stuff like that, again, portrayal matters a lot before characters get feats. Once characters get a lot of feats, then, you know, then it starts mattering less, because we can actually put things into context. Portrayal is more like a guess at the context that they're eventually going to be put into, right? And then feats are basically like hammering in what it actually is. I also saw one thing that bothered me with the top 30 ranking, which was in the comments, someone was like, I don't like that Morj swapped his rankings around based on chat giving certain arguments and stuff. How can we trust Morj's ranking if he changes his rankings based on chat's arguments? I think that that's like a good thing, in my opinion, because like if somebody's bringing up a point you hadn't thought about before, nobody thinks through everything, like every nitty gritty detail of how these characters stack up against each other, especially looking at the top 30 characters in One Piece. There's so many characters. So I think genuinely, I don't know, flexibility and realizing that, oh, maybe this is incorrect and moving it around is good. That's me personally. That is why, though, with this stream, we're going to start. We're going to leave Aokiji out of it. Because Aokiji is not a real Blackbeard pirate in my mind. Unless we're at endgame and Aokiji is still, for whatever reason, just being a giant asshole. To me, it's the same as Fujitora not being, like, a real admiral. Like, Fujitora is an admiral, obviously, but, like, he's not going to fight on the government side in the final war. We're waiting for a moment when he turns. Name Jeff, thank you. So is Bajrang Gun possible, Gatling possible, and the most OP thing? I think Bajrang Gatling is very possibly going to be the final move in One Piece. Reason being, here's a cool idea, food for thought. So, I personally think that one of Oda's favorite ways to end fights in general is, what is it? I'm trying to remember the name of the move. Elephant Gatling. I can't believe. Okay, so one of Oda's favorite ways to end moves in general, right? We see it with Crocodile. We see it with Lucci. Oda likes doing like a big, like flurry of an extended flurry of punches, right? Elephant Gatling, same thing. And in what chapters? It's probably gonna be like chapter 640, something like this. The finale of Fishman Island, which takes place where? Right below Marijua, right? The finale of Fishman Island is Luffy launching this giant jet Gatling. Is he not doing it? Why isn't he doing it? Do the thing. All right. Has he not done it yet? He's doing this giant elephant Gatling, sorry. Giant elephant Gatling on Noah to destroy everything, blah, 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 blah. And we know that there's this prophecy that Luffy eventually will destroy Fishman Island as well, right? And it seems like the story is heading back to Marijua for its final climax, right? Final conflict. So Marijua seems to be the place of final conflict. Fishman Island, it seems like it's going to be destroyed by Luffy's hands. There is the popular destruction of the Red Line theory, which is that the Red Line needs to be destroyed to create the One Piece. I think a lot of things are coming together to suggest that the Red Line is destroyed in the final battle, in my opinion, at Marijua by Luffy. And I think that there might be some significant parallels here, possibly, or foreshadowing or whatever, that the beginning of the New World, right? So the beginning of Act 2 has Luffy do this big finishing blow, Elephant Gatling, right? This giant scale finishing move. But he doesn't finish the job, right? So he stopped short of it. I think it'd be really, really cool if that's foreshadowing the climax of the story taking place at Marijua, so like, 10,000 meters above this or whatever, and it's actually Luffy doing the same sort of attack on the final villain of the story, whoever you believe that to be, Emu, Blackbeard, whatever. I personally think Emu more likely. If Luffy's doing that final move on, let's say, Emu, he's doing that final move on Emu, and this time it's just like a gigantic thing, like Bajrang Gatling, like 100 times bigger, more impressive than this, and it just destroys the entire Red Line in the process, creates a new world. You know the drill. You know One Piece, right? So I think that's an interesting idea. So I really think Bajrang Gatling is a very, very big possibility, personally. Mango the God says, you're doing the same thing. You criticize Morj. You're going off your feelings that you don't think Aokiji is a Blackbeard pirate when it showed Blackbeard pretty much kind of convinced Aokiji to join him. I mean, he kind of convinced Aokiji to join him. I think power scaling versus, like, how you view characters are two very, very different things. Like, what I'm talking about is power scaling. Power scaling was just based on, like, I like this character, I don't like this character, I feel like this character shouldn't be that strong. That's different. If I'm talking, like, I did a whole Aokiji breakdown of his character that makes it fairly clear that he's not like a true Blackbeard pirate. He has a very, if you look back throughout all of his dialogue throughout the story, he's clearly got his own personal motivations, and he's not the type of character whose personality fits the rest of the Blackbeard pirates. But you know what? If you guys don't like that and you think that that's too theoretical, cool. Let's say Aokiji is a Blackbeard pirate. That's fair. I'm taking theories as canon right there. That's not the right thing to do. Let's say Aokiji is a Blackbeard pirate. In that case, Aokiji is number 1, and Blackbeard is number 2. Mostly I wanted to avoid that giant headache of everyone crying about this, but it is the case. Why do I say that? Because Blackbeard just went, it seems, high difficulty with fucking Trafalgar Law, the little baby non-hockey toddler of the New World. And Aokiji is fighting the strongest Marine of all time, who has pretty much shown either the first or second best hockey feat in the entire story, right? And Aokiji's going toe-to-toe with that guy. Aokiji's feats also include a 10-day long battle against Fleet Admiral Akainu. Blackbeard's feats include defeating Marco. That's pretty much it. No matter how you spin it, Aokiji has better feats right now. And if you want to actually look at their confrontation in the bar, Blackbeard was shitting his pants, whereas Aokiji was basically like, yeah, I can just take you if I want to. Like, there's literally nothing that you could argue at this moment in time, either in terms of their portrayal when they faced off against each other, or in terms of feats that suggest that Aokiji would be below Blackbeard. You could argue purpose in the story, but the tricky thing with Blackbeard is that we all know that he's nowhere near his final level in the strength yet. So even if his purpose in the story is to be a villain for Luffy that's even stronger than Kaido and such, which I would agree with, he's obviously not there yet, so you can't really use that either. So it doesn't matter what you want to use. If you, like... Okay, seriously, I want to hear a good argument, because this is the problem. People saying, stop, that's dumb, blah, 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 blah. Give an argument. I need to hear an argument. What feats does Blackbeard have that put him above Aokiji? Because Aokiji went extreme difficulty with Akainu. He's essentially equal to Akainu. If you think Blackbeard is stronger than Aokiji, you're essentially saying that Blackbeard is stronger than Marineford Akainu. And Marineford Akainu took off half of Whitebeard's face, right? Marineford Akainu took on the entire Whitebeard Pirates crew, right? Blackbeard beat Marco 1v1, that's his biggest feat, or beating Trafalgar Law 1v1. Neither of those are as impressive as what Aokiji is doing right now, or what Aokiji did at Marineford, or what Aokiji did during the time skip. So in terms of feats, it's Aokiji. In terms of portrayal, you can only really look at Blackbeard versus Aokiji's interaction in the bar, and Aokiji was clearly the more confident one in that scenario, and Blackbeard wasn't. Loser says, Morj, we don't know if Blackbeard is at his peak. I don't think so, but he could be. Yeah, he could be, but I think we need evidence to see that before we can make any sort of assumptions. Because if Blackbeard is at his peak right now, then he's not that, if Blackbeard's at his peak right now, then he's not even as strong as Big Mom. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't seem like he's set up to, considering that Big Mom basically, she took on Kid and Law at the same time, using all of their best shit, and she still had the upper hand for the most part. They managed to get her with teamwork at the end, but they also got very lucky with the bombs, right? Blackbeard versus Law, it seemed more like an even-ish matchup, which Blackbeard eventually got the upper hand on. Big Mom versus Kid and Law, it seemed like Big Mom is clearly still above Kid and Law by a good amount, and even both of them together are barely managing to work things out, right? So I don't think you can really put Blackbeard up there with Kaido and Big Mom just yet, certainly not with Shanks just yet. I find it very unlikely that Blackbeard is at his final endgame level of strength in that case. Even if you want to argue that he is, there's just no evidence for that just yet. So I don't know what you would base Blackbeard being above Aokiji on just yet. What is it? Is it feats? Because it's not feats. Is it portrayal? Because we have the bar scene. Blackbeard was the one shitting his pants, not Aokiji, right? That's the two things we gotta look at. Michael W. says, I agree with you. For sake of counterpoint, portrayal seems to hint at Blackbeard having secrets we do not see, etc. End of law fight, an off-screen fight defeating Marco and Whitebeard crew. I mean, with Blackbeard's current ability set, he should be able to beat Marco. It's just that that doesn't mean that much considering Aokiji is significantly above Marco, right? Blackbeard, maybe he's hiding something, but we just don't know. The other thing is that Blackbeard still runs from guys like Rayleigh. You know what I mean? Like, Blackbeard at this moment in time, he really, like, the one thing that's been established about Blackbeard is that he tends to only really commit to fights against characters he's confident he can beat. So, like Law, like Marco, like Ace. Characters like Rayleigh, Akainu, people forget this. Akainu rolled up on Blackbeard right before the time skip. When Blackbeard had both of his fruits, Akainu rolled up on Blackbeard. Blackbeard said, we can't beat him right now, and he ran away with his entire crew. Like, I don't see Blackbeard beating... I know Blackbeard's probably improved over the time skip, but I'm saying we need to see what he can do. If he's still struggling this much with Law, I just don't see him actually beating Aokiji just yet. Boa Hancock? No, we talked about this in a previous stream, because this is something that I talked about in Top 30. I was underrating Boa Hancock, then people pointed out to me that, no, if you look at it, Blackbeard caught her by surprise. So Boa Hancock's attention was focused elsewhere, then Blackbeard came in and caught her, right? That's not really, it's not something we can really go off of there, you know? On the flip side, once an actually strong character showed up, really, Blackbeard ran away. Like, there's just nothing really, you can't really argue anything right now for Blackbeard over Aokiji, because again, Aokiji's feat, his biggest feat is he was equal with Akainu, right? Akainu's 0.01% stronger, but it's essentially, like, let me put it this way. Do you think that's a fair thing to say? Akainu over Blackbeard. Do you think that's a fair thing to say? If you think that's a fair thing to say, then you have to think this is a fair thing to say. Because Akainu and Aokiji, there's essentially no difference. It's essentially identical, like clone the same person. After a fucking like we could take this stream. I could go on break for a week, show up not next Monday, next Thursday. And at that point, Aokiji versus Kainu would be wrapping up. That's how close they are in strength. Think about that. It's essentially the same person. So unless you think that, which I personally just think makes no sense, but unless you think that, then you cannot think, then you can't think Blackbeard above Aokiji. It has to be both or neither. Unless you think Akainu was below Blackbeard pre-time skip and then leveled up post-time skip or whatever, but I think even looking at Marineford Blackbeard, or Marineford Akainu, right? Blackbeard versus Marineford Akainu, right? You're really taking Blackbeard right now, who just nearly, like, he had a high difficulty fight with Law. You're really taking him over Marineford Akainu, who took off Whitebeard's face, like, fought the entire Whitebeard Pirates by himself. You know, like, what would Akainu do to Law? Think about that. What would Akainu do to Law? Akainu versus Law. Do you think Akainu would struggle with Law as much as Blackbeard did? L, thanks for the 2. Where do you read the colored manga? If somebody else got the link, just drop it in the chat below, because I posted a bit ago. Mohamed Sadeki, somehow good news. At least Raid failed in the anime. Oh, good shit. JWP, thanks for the 5. Also have Aokiji greater than Blackbeard. However, the Gura has been shown to hard counter both ice attacks and being frozen. Also, Yami hard counters too. You could argue maybe it's a bad matchup for Aokiji. Maybe it is a bad matchup for Aokiji. But, like, let's take matchups out of it. Overall, what do you think? Right? Overall, in the grand scheme of things, who's more impressive? Do you think Aokiji would beat Law easier than Blackbeard beat Law? I think so. Do you think Blackbeard would go 10 days and do you think Blackbeard's equal to Akainu? I don't think so. Do you think Aokiji would, just think of, like, pick any character pretty much and think about how you think Aokiji would do versus, like, what do you think Blackbeard's chances are? Or just in general, look at what they've actually done. Name, thanks for the 5. If Aokiji brings out the Awakening, he smokes Blackbeard. Might match him without, as he's doing Garp right now. Garp greater than equal to really, and Blackbeard was sweating. Yeah. Exactly. Akainu with low diff, Law easy. Yeah. Omar Rigby says, Morj, you forgot Blackbeard has crew against law. Yep. Jatapi says, Blackbeard low diff law. What do you mean, LMAO? No, you can't look at the number of injuries. Like, I'm a law hater. You guys know this. But you can't look at the number of injuries law left on Blackbeard and call that a low diff. That's just not what a low diff is. Yeah. Even a mid diff. Like, at the end of the day, even if you view it as a mid diff or whatever, Akainu would beat Law much easier than that. I think we could agree. Richard Liz says, I don't think you can take the matchup out of the equation. In a strength ranking, you're just ranking overall strength. You're not just ranking the like overall strength is where do they stack against everybody. Music F3B says Kuzan didn't seem worried when he was facing the Blackbeard crew. Yeah, like it's just I think it's pretty straightforward. Like the thing is when Blackbeard is we can see Blackbeard's reactions. When Blackbeard is confident he can beat someone, he acts confident. He doesn't act scared. That's a consistent trait of his throughout the story. When Blackbeard runs into someone that he doesn't think he can beat, he doesn't act confident. It's like I think with Blackbeard it's pretty straightforward, honestly. Hurrying Lurks 44 says, but Blackbeard takes damage from everyone because of his recklessness. Yeah, so then that's a weakness in his fighting. And sure, that'll work against Law because Law is basically actually a like very incompetent fighter who gets by with just devil fruit trickery and stuff. But if Blackbeard's reckless, if we want to talk matchups and stuff, that Blackbeard's recklessness probably makes him lose against a lot more characters than Aokiji. Big Owen says he was huffing and puffing while he had his whole gang with him. Yep. Zoom in a bit if possible. Oh, my bad. That's a good point. It's always annoying to zoom in. All right. FBHCC blah blah blah. Bro acting like Ray said he didn't want to fight him either. Yes, but why did Rayleigh say he didn't want to fight him? Because he's old. Because he literally hasn't held a sword in God knows how many years, right? Blackbeard still views Rayleigh as basically just better than him. Enoch says, are we forgetting that Kuzan was also shown to be on the same level physically as Garp? Yeah, pure physical strength. Garp's still better at hockey, obviously, right? Funtown Flamer says, I'm not going to lie, the funniest page in the series might be Blackbeard after fighting Magellan. Bro is not having a good time. That's the thing, like, Blackbeard has a million issues with his fighting style. You know, like, he has two very strong fruits, but a million different things throughout the story have been shown fucking him up. Whereas Aokiji, he's never had a bad showing. You know what I mean? Like, Aokiji, you throw him against Whitebeard, he looked good. You throw him against Akainu, he goes 10 days, you know? Even right now against Garp, the best Marine of all time, yeah, Garp's past his prime, but Aokiji's trading punches. Leo Recto says, hi, my previous super got skipped. Also, I mean all anime. Let me take a look. I'm sorry if I skipped some. Let's get the stream likes up to 400. Alright, we're going to move past Aokiji and Blackbeard in a second unless I see an actually good argument. Oh, I missed a couple. Dank X Cookies, thanks for the 10. Does Marco join the strides? I really don't think so. No, I don't think so. Marco, like, I think he's a great side character, but I think there's so many more characters that have much more well-developed relationships with the crew and just better developed characters in general that we spend a lot more time on than Marco that would be better candidates for joining the crew. But now I'm starting to think no one joins the crew. Name Jeff, I missed some from you. Hold on. Okay, hold on. I missed some. Okay. Sean Easton, thanks for the 5. Oppenheimer was a little bitch. Oh, the bomb that I made work. Oh, heavens. We've used them responsibly since. Plus, it was nukes or no Japan, no cap. I don't know how to respond to this. I think... Oh, the bomb that I made work. Oh, worked. Oh heavens. I don't know how to respond to this. Leo Rector, thanks for the 5. Hey Morj, do you think Dragon could be Pirate King level, Ace/Luffy's dad, Scarp's son, and he's going up against King of the World? Also, what's your favorite character unique power? I think if Dragon is supposed to be, if Dragon turns out to be as strong as Garp was in his prime, like Monkey D in their prime, you know what I'm starting to think? I'm starting to think that basically Luffy by the end of the story, right? Let's imagine Roger and Garp in their prime are roughly the same, right? And they're both just hockey users. Roughly the same. You probably think Roger's a bit stronger. I think that's fair. But let's imagine them in their primes are roughly the same. I feel like Luffy by the end of the story will be about equal to them. But then he also has Gear 5th. You get what I'm saying? I feel like Luffy's hockey will be as good as Roger's or his grandfather's by the end of the story. But I think Luffy also has the Nika fruit, which kind of really puts him over the top as something, you know, as Joy Boy or whatever, something the world's never seen before. That's just my feeling. Maybe that sounds too blasphemous for some of you guys, but I feel like it feels right that, you know, the next Pirate King has the best hockey the world's seen since Roger. I think that fits a lot of the ideas of the story and what Luffy's working towards. So along those lines, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, just in general, Garp, Luffy, Dragon, they all just have hockey that's at a certain level. You know, especially because just some of the things Ivankov says, like Luffy's will reminds her of Dragon's. Like, I feel like Dragon is supposed to just feel like an adult sort of Luffy, just minus the Nika fruit. But Dragon then maybe has the wind fruit and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe we're overrating Garp, or sorry, maybe we're overrating Dragon. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's ranging towards that territory. What is my favorite character unique power? Like in One Piece or in general? Oh wait, you clarified this later. Also, you mean all anime? I really liked stopping time. I like the world. I really like stopping time. Stopping time's such a unique ability. I mean, it's such a desirable ability to have. I would really love to be able to stop time. So convenient. I would never be late to a stream. You guys should want me to stop time too. Name Jeff. Thank you for the donations. Gear 5th was getting his ass beat though until the very end. No, but people spin this. Gear 5th was beating ass. Then Kaido got a few, like, Gear 5th was beating ass for 3 chapters. Then Kaido gets his half a chapter of beating ass. Then Luffy captures Kaido. Then Luffy pulls out Bajra gun. What? I don't get, like, it's a fight. It's obviously, it's supposed to go back and forth. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like, you can't say Gear 5th was getting his ass beat until the end. Oh, the end? You mean when Gear 5th then beat Kaido's ass? Isn't that the fucking... Why does it matter what was happening right before? Like, I just don't even know how to respond to this, because it's just like, well, the hero's beating the villain, but then remember, then the villain started beating the hero, and then the hero beat the villain after that. But if you ignore that part, well, look at what happened right before. I'm like, what does that mean? Also, Bajra gun's too OP since we should expect Gear 5th to be able to do a Gatling version of it. If you expect Gear 5th to be able to do a Gatling version of it, then yeah, shouldn't he be able to really fuck Kaido's shit up? Again, that was just Gear 5th Luffy's first time using Gear 5th. And you know what's fucking crazy? You know what, like, Kaido himself says? Like, towards the beginning of the fight, Luffy says that he's here to surpass Kaido and Big Mom. It's like, cool. Readers want to ignore that. They're like, Luffy just says some crazy shit. You know what Kaido says at the end as he's being defeated? You know who Joy Boy is? Joy Boy is the one who can defeat me. Readers are like, well, then where the fuck's Joy Boy? We don't know who. We didn't see anyone show up that could beat Kaido. Well, Luffy filled the role through some random-ass lucky breaks and, like, a lot of cheating and shit, because he certainly didn't end up beating Kaido. We're still waiting on this Joy Boy fella to show up, someone who can actually beat Kaido. Good thing Luffy managed to bungle his way into doing it on accident, since that Joy Boy dude never showed up. Like, come on. People just, like, the anti-bias against Luffy is so deeply ridden, and it goes back to what that one person said. I forget the name, the one person who dropped that super, but the thing that person said was that we want Luffy to grow, but it feels lame if it happens too fast. And that's all it is. It's like, Luffy gets strong really fucking fast. Unreasonably fast. Fucking deal with it. Okay? Just because you don't like how that feels, and it feels wrong and too shonen-y, it doesn't fucking matter. It's what's happening. Deal with it. That's not a power scaling argument, but that's the bias that people have going into all of these fights against Luffy when he's going up against impossible odds. It's just like, well, we don't want Luffy, like, it feels wrong if he gets there too fast. It's like, well, he fucking does. But then people try and like recontextualize it with made up shit. Umair Ulas is top 5 Ani manga MCs. That's fun. I mean, Luffy's obviously in there. Denji has actually accidentally creeped his way in there, even though I didn't care for him in part 1. MCs. Denji's in there. Luffy. Can I throw in 2 JoJos? I really like Jotaro and Johnny. I'm gonna throw in 2 JoJos. And Thorfinn. Fucking duh. Although Thorfinn was my number 1 for a while, but I just don't like what they did with his character after chapter 100. After the farm arc, I didn't care for him as much. Humility above pride, thanks for the 2. Humility above pride, thanks for the 20. Sorry, I guess you had to clarify some stuff. Morj, that's like saying Blackbeard can't beat Ace because he struggled with Luffy. Blackbeard was out there looking messed up after a few Luffy hits, then after Whitebeard wasn't... Okay, hold on. I gotta read this carefully. Morj, that's like saying Blackbeard can't beat Ace because he struggled with Luffy. Blackbeard was out there looking messed up after a few Luffy hits, then after Whitebeard wasn't strong enough to knock him out. But Whitebeard was... What do you mean? Whitebeard could have... Whitebeard was literally about to kill him. Do you not remember? Blackbeard's portrayal is consistently below his strength. Okay, but then you need to show the flip side of it, right? You need to show the flip side where it's like, okay, where's the evidence that... Like, you can make excuses for his low showings, but then you need to balance that out with his high showings, right? Because it's like, yeah, okay, Blackbeard getting hit by Luffy, that makes him look bad, right? But it's counterbalanced by Blackbeard beating Ace, right? If you're scaling pre-time skip Blackbeard, you would obviously go by his high scaling. By his higher feat. Like, his higher end feat is better representative of him, right? Where is Blackbeard's higher end feat? That's all I'm asking. You can give excuses for the lower end things, but then if you're lacking the stuff that's like, okay, what am I actually scaling him off of then you don't have an argument. You get it? Like, so, okay, it's nice. You've got some excuses for why Blackbeard didn't look so good against Law. What has Blackbeard done then in that case that's as good as tying with Akainu? Because Aokiji essentially, like, obviously he technically lost, but where we would scale him is basically a hair's breadth underneath Akainu. That's where you scale Aokiji. He has a really good high-end showing. Right now as well, trading blows with Garp, that's really, really good, especially considering how strong Garp seems to be with Haki. Where is that for Blackbeard? You get what I'm saying? Like, so when you just have a litany of, like, messy showings, and you're comparing it to a guy who has several really, really great showings, right? I mean, if you compare Whitebeard, who's got no face here, and what he does to Blackbeard, like, this is supposed to knock Blackbeard out already? Like, he seems pretty fucked up, and he seems basically done. Like, he's literally begging. If you compare that to Aokiji versus Whitebeard, it's no contest. Obviously, Blackbeard gets stronger after this, but I'm saying, like, we need this stuff to counterbalance, right? Like, what has Blackbeard got that puts him above Aokiji at this point, right? You got the excuses for the lower end showings, but where are the higher end showings? The other thing you could say is like portrayal, right? If Blackbeard's being hyped up in a certain way, but in that category as well, I think the chapter that made me decide, okay, Aokiji's probably stronger than Blackbeard right now, is their confrontation in the bar. Aokiji looked more confident and more ready to kick ass in that moment than Blackbeard, who seemed like he was shitting his pants. You could say that alone doesn't mean anything. Maybe Blackbeard could have won despite seeming scared, but it's the combination of things. Aokiji having better feats, Aokiji looking like the tougher guy in the bar. Those are the only 2 things you really got. You got feats, Aokiji wins. You got their one small moment of comparable portrayal, both of them confronting each other in the bar. Aokiji looks better there too. There's nothing really left to say Blackbeard's above Aokiji, other than the argument that his role in the story is to be a final villain. But again, nothing he's done yet suggests that he's at the final point where he would be ready to be the final villain for Luffy, at least among pirates, Imu notwithstanding. Okay. So we're past this moment because I haven't seen any good arguments for Blackbeard just yet. All-powerful God Anil, thanks for being a Yonko member for 3 months. Hey, Master Mac Morjeans, if Luffy doesn't kill his enemies, what will happen to Emu and Blackbeard by the end of the story? Could Blackbeard be redeemed? Much loved. I think Blackbeard might die. I don't know. I feel like Blackbeard's one of those Ds that dies with a smile on his face. I don't know how he dies, but I feel like he could. I just can't see a future for him. Im, I think, ends up at the bottom of the ocean and stays there, personally. I feel like that's fitting. Humility above pride, thanks for the 5. Also, Kuzan stated he froze Blackbeard's crew so he can't use Quakes. He nerfed Blackbeard because he knew pre-time skip Blackbeard was stronger. He stated he froze Blackbeard's crew so he can't use Quakes. He nerfed Blackbeard? What? What is that? I don't even understand. I don't understand what this is. He nerfed Blackbeard. Freezing Blackbeard's crew is nerfing Blackbeard? We're talking about a 1v1. Because he knew I don't understand this. Alright. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving. Alright. We got to put Shiryu here, right? He said he would freeze Blackbeard's crew in the car. Yeah. Oh, that's a fair argument. Okay, let's look at the chapter again. I'm always willing to listen to good arguments. It's just been a bit till I've seen one for the Blackbeard Aokiji thing. So let's take a look at that. 1080 or something? Oops. What is it going to be? 1080? $1,079? No, 1081. Humility above pride. Morj dodged the point. Blackbeard looked worse after Luffy than he did versus Whitebeard, who's infinitely stronger, then took on Garp and Sengoku easily. What? He looked worse after Luffy than he did versus Whitebeard, who's infinitely stronger. Looked worse after Luffy. He looked like he was about to die against Blackbeard. He was begging for his life. I don't know what you're talking about. Then took on Garp and Sengoku easily. Blackbeard's actually never shown actually fighting Garp and Sengoku. He fought them easily. The only thing that happened was Sengoku threw an attack which shocked Blackbeard, and then Blackbeard's using Quake stuff to tilt the island, but we don't actually see anything that's happening there. But it's true that Blackbeard was very confident against Garp and Sengoku right there. But that's inconsistent with later things such as Blackbeard being afraid of Akainu showing up and Blackbeard being afraid of Aokiji. But let's take a look at this scene. Let's take a look at this scene. Okay, so he said, okay, hold on. All of my people are frozen outside. Undo your powers. Oh, shut up. Better watch out with that tremor fruit here. Your crew will crumble to pieces. What? That's not. Wait, what? That's not. What? That's just him saying to watch out from using his fruit. That doesn't mean anything. We already know that Blackbeard doesn't care and that he will happily sacrifice his crew if he needs to win a fight. He was ready to do that against Boa Hancock. That has no bearing on this. Does Blackbeard say he's not going to use his Gura Guru no Mi because he's afraid of damaging his crew? It's already been proven that doesn't apply to him. I apologize. I don't know how you can look at this scene and feel like Blackbeard is not the one that's more intimidated from Aokiji here. Billy Bob says he took his crew hostage to nullify the ability. You're applying so many things to this scene that are never suggested. He literally just says, okay, so Blackbeard shows up, right? So he's already fucked up his crew. Aokiji makes the comment, better watch out with that fruit because your crew will crumble to pieces. That's just a threat. But in no way does that mean that Aokiji's basically nerfed Blackbeard's abilities totally, because we already know that Blackbeard is fine sacrificing his crew to somebody's abilities if needed to win a fight. We already know that. Loser says he doesn't want to, but he's willing if necessary. When Blackbeard expresses fear throughout the story, it's not for his own crewmates. It's for himself. What type of character are you guys thinking he is? It has been established throughout the story he does not care about his crewmates. Blackbeard is the dude that kills and sacrifices his crewmates left and right. That's how he was introduced. We had this identical situation with Boa Hancock. Why would you bring this up? If Blackbeard's expressing any sort of fear, it is because he is worried in a confrontation. It is never because he's worried about his friends, because he doesn't have any friends. He has characters that he uses. What the fuck? I don't know what to say. All right. We're going to move on from here. I think at the end of the day, I understand why people would prefer the idea that Blackbeard is stronger than Aokiji. Blackbeard is the captain after all. If you really want to argue that the bar scene is like, it's hard to tell who was more intimidated by who in this scene because of the Gura Gura no Mi. Technically, Blackbeard could sacrifice some people that he doesn't care about situation. You could make that argument, but then at the end of the day, if you still want to say, okay, portrayal, it's 50-50. If you want to make that argument, it certainly doesn't make Blackbeard look better than Aokiji. If you want to say portrayal is a wash, that's fine. Then we default to feats, and Aokiji is better feats. It's the way it is right now. All right. Ray admits that he bargained with Blackbeard so he wouldn't lose 1v1. Blackbeard only left because Rayleigh made Boa give him... Yeah, Rayleigh thinks that Blackbeard would beat him 1v1, but Rayleigh is also really fucking old. Blackbeard should be able to beat Rayleigh at this point. Rayleigh made it clear that at this point in time, I'm too old to lose to Blackbeard, but Rayleigh also implied that in his prime, he would beat Blackbeard. I don't think that that's too different than the Garp Aokiji situation right now, except that Garp is much closer to his prime since he's been a Marine, been in practice, etc., and also Prime Garp is stronger than Prime Rayleigh. So I think that definitely makes, like, if you're scaling the two scenarios, obviously Aokiji still being willing to fight old Garp is much more impressive than Blackbeard retreating from old Rayleigh. Also, people are reading this scene as though Aokiji strategically nerfed, strategically nerfed Blackbeard's crew. No, Blackbeard's crew rolled up. Aokiji froze them. Blackbeard shows up later, and Aokiji's just making a simple point that if you use your Gura Gura no Mi, you'll fuck them up. It's not that like Aokiji is scared of Blackbeard. He's like, I'd better freeze his crew and take him hostage. Blackbeard's arrival is separate from the crew attacking Aokiji. This happens later. Hey, what happened here? It's Blackbeard, blah, blah, blah. They show up, and they realize, like, he realizes that some shit's happened to his crew. What the fuck? How much do you have to twist it to be like, Aokiji is scared of Blackbeard, therefore he conveniently finds read the scene. Aokiji's just chilling in the bar. The crew rolled up, he froze him, Blackbeard rolls up, Aokiji gives a casual warning. That's it. And then Blackbeard shits his pants the moment Aokiji gets up. We also know Blackbeard doesn't care if he has to sacrifice his crew to win a fight. There's just nothing really here to read into, in my opinion. If you really want to argue it's a wash, then we can look at feats. Aokiji is better feats. He fought out Akainu. He's currently fighting Garp. Blackbeard's best feat is beating Marco and beating Law. That's it. JP, thanks for the 20. Blackbeard was willing to sacrifice his crew against Boa only because he had to trust her to unfreeze them, but it was putting his life at risk of being petrified if he let go. His life versus his crew's is when he's happy to sacrifice them. This is so... Oh my... This is like... I would love to keep moving on this list, but I think people are really trying to cling on to this point that's not really a strong point, because it's trying to construct this sort of brilliant strategy for Aokiji to avoid fighting Blackbeard head-on, when you can read the scene pretty straightforward in that this was an encounter where the Blackbeard pirates rolled up on Aokiji. Aokiji was chilling in a bar. He froze him. After this, Blackbeard shows up at some point later. Aokiji is not scared at all. He's chilling. He tells Blackbeard what's up, gives him a quick reminder that if you use your Gura Gura no Mi, your crew gets fucked up too. Doesn't change the fact that Blackbeard is clearly scared of fighting Aokiji once shit happens. And wait a second, hold on. Wait a second. He's already unfrozen the crew. He's already unfrozen the crew. They're not even hostage anymore. It's not even like the Boa Hancock situation. They're not even hostage anymore. San Juan Wolf is fine. In fact, Aokiji... Oh my god. Blackbeard and his entire crew could attack... Like, this is literally what Lafitte's saying, by the way. If we take his power to be a huge boost, the entire crew could try jumping Aokiji right now. Is this Burgess? Who did Blackbeard show up with? Who did Blackbeard show up with? Blackbeard's got everyone. He's got Burgess. He's got the entire crew. He's got Blackbeard, Van Auger, Burgess, Katarina Devon, Avalo Pizarro. This is the entire Yonko crew. Everybody is there. Literally everybody is there. Nobody's held hostage at this point. They're all unfrozen. Aokiji threatens to fuck them all up at the same time again. And Blackbeard shits his fucking pants. This debate is over. People trying to use my hazy memory of the chapter to cherry pick panels. What the fuck? JP, thanks for the 5. What? No, I agree Aokiji is stronger. I just think Blackbeard isn't that quick to sacrifice his crew. I would agree, but his crew was not held hostage at this point. They had a fresh start. They could have all attacked at the same time. Alright. Let's go. Wrench Dodger 2000's breakdown is basically exactly how it happened. Remo says Blackbeard wanted Aokiji to join. Yeah, he did. But you can still look at reactions such as fear, intimidation, when one character is rearing to fight and the other character is scared of a fight. Like, Blackbeard still extends a hand because he's going to extend a hand, but Aokiji's clearly confident that he can take the entire crew. Blackbeard, maybe he thinks he can beat Aokiji. Maybe he doesn't. We don't know. I don't think we can read enough into this situation. But at the end of the day, you can't look at the scene and argue that it makes Blackbeard look better than Aokiji. That's what I'm saying. Because Aokiji is showing the confidence that he could take the entire crew. He's not afraid of Blackbeard and his entire Yonko crew right there. This is the entire Blackbeard pirate crew. All of them. This is like sitting in front of like Kaido, King, Queen, and the Flying Six, right? Aokiji is confident he can take all of them. He's not breaking a sweat. He thinks it'll be easy. Blackbeard is the one that seems like he's on the back foot. Obviously, he wants Aokiji on the crew, but I don't think you can spin the scene as anything like, oh, Blackbeard comes off looking better. At worst, you can say it shows nothing. If you want to argue it in Aokiji's favor, I personally think you've got a good argument. At worst, you can say it shows nothing on either side. It certainly does not suggest Blackbeard is above Aokiji. And finally, if you want to ignore that scene, well, then all you have to go off our feats, which, as we discussed, Aokiji has better feats. We're moving on. All right. Shiryu, we're going to say, is right here because he got the most individual hype, being the only crew member that was recruited and got his own special whole big recruitment scene and recruitment narrative, etc. So there's just more significance placed on him. Plus, he was in that color spread with all the first mates. Plus, he seems like Zoro's final opponent. I'm going to put Shiryu there. I think Icarus says how you have the mental patience for this is nuts. This is how streaming works, man. This is just the way it is. It's just a long back and forth with 1,000 people. So I'm used to it at this point. Humility Buff Pride, thanks for the 5. Morj, don't dodge. Do the poll, Blackbeard versus Kuzan. I can do the poll, but just because people will vote one way doesn't mean that people are correct. Especially if you've listened to everything I've said so far, which is feats Aokiji is definitively better. Portrayal, you could argue that neither of them has a better portrayal than the other, or you could make a solid argument off of the bar scene that Aokiji looks better, but there is no portrayal argument that suggests that Blackbeard is above Aokiji at this point. So if you want to ignore feats, if you want to ignore portrayal, then you can put Blackbeard above Aokiji, but it would just make no sense. All right, poll done, 84%. We're moving on. Okay. I'm going with... All right, hold on. So, here's the next step. All right, Aokiji, Blackbeard, Shiryu. Here's our word bank, right? We got to do the word bank. What's Parvision been saying? I'm sorry, Parvision. I've been caught up with losing my mind over other stuff. Okay, Parvision's just talking about the horse. So I think I can ignore what Parvision's been saying. Vala Pizarro, this is not in order, right? We got Vasco Shot, we got San Juan Wolf, we got Katarina Devon, we got Van Augur. We got Doc Q. We got Jesus Burgess. Missing anyone? Lafitte. I'm not going to rank the horse. I'm sorry. I'm not ranking stronger. Bar Vision. Alright. He's sleeping on stronger. Crazy. Mythical Zone. True. Mythical Zone. Yeah, we got the thumbnail out of the way. Okay. You know what's really fucked up? If I spent all stream arguing this, and then like next chapter Blackbeard rolls up and like just destroys Garp after Aokiji's been struggling with him. That would be fucked up. I would have to delete this stream. I would have to make an apology stream the next stream to Blackbeard. Thanks for the $, oof. Here's what I'll acknowledge to save my ass, to cover my ass. If Blackbeard has something that he has not shown yet, like a third zone or something like that, or something up his sleeve that he probably hasn't broken out on screen yet, I could definitely see him being stronger than Aokiji. I just don't think, from anything we've seen yet, there's an argument. But we obviously know. Let's be very, very, very clear, right? I know for certain Blackbeard by the end of the story, whatever version of Blackbeard that is stronger than Aokiji. No question. I'm not debating that. I'm just assuming he's not there yet. That's it. If Blackbeard's got something hidden up his sleeve, then he's got something hidden up his sleeve. But in that case, we can't really rank him at all, can we? For all we know, then Blackbeard could be stronger than Shanks, Kaido, Mihawk, Akainu, all of those boys already. I don't know. I'm just saying from the shit we've seen and the way he's been portrayed so far. That's all I gotta say. I gotta cover my ass. That's it. We all know Blackbeard eventually will be established to be stronger than Aokiji. I just don't think he's quite there yet. Topple Map, thanks for the 10. Do you think Luffy held back at all when the 1v1 against Kaido started? If not, then Luffy would have to No, I don't think so. If not, then Luffy would have to output even more damage than he can to make up for the Supernova Yamato Scabbards in a rematch. If not, then he would have to output even more damage than he can. The thing is, Luffy didn't even have Advanced Conqueror's Haki at the beginning, though. So it's just like, those were baby hits. I don't even know what to... but I agree that he would have to output quite a bit, basically. But Luffy's attacks towards the beginning... They were a child's... They were just like, you know... Luffy was fighting with kid gloves forced on him. He didn't have his Advanced Conqueror's Haki yet. The vast majority of the damage came out of that. Alright. Godzilla Enthusiast says there's no way he held back. I'm saying we don't know certain things. Like, maybe he's got a mythical Zoan already that only comes out when the fucking full moon is up or some random bullshit. We don't know. If it's something like that he would not have used against Law or Marco or in any of his other fights, then that's a totally different story. Okay. So, let me take a look. Right now, what's the other chapter that we got to see the Blackbeard Pirates fighting at? We got to see them at... So this? Whoa. Wait, completely wrong. It's 1059, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm just looking at what points do the Blackbeard Pirates show up places and then subsequently get fucked up. Because that's been happening a lot, right? 1064? Okay, a little bit before this, right? Okay. Alright. So we got the Doc Q stuff, the Burgess stuff, Van Augur. Well, can someone give me a reminder? Where else do the Blackbeard Pirates show up in combat situations? Obviously, we have the latest chapter. We have 1086. Daskarai says, should we just rank them based on their strat matchups? The thing is, I don't know if that's the best way to rank them because it's debatable. Like, a lot of people, most people would agree that who's above Sasaki, right? But then, like, Ulti, a lot of people put the Ulti above, you know, who's who. Or, I don't want to get into the full details and stuff of that, but I don't know if it's necessarily clean down the line, like each Straw Hat fights necessarily a stronger Blackbeard pirate member. I think we're going to include some of that in here, right? So obviously, like, Doc Q, I'm going to put kind of low right off the bat, because I just don't think... He doesn't seem like a physically strong fighter, and anyone with decent hockey, it looks like, can reverse his abilities, right? Like, I think we can agree that Burgess is probably above Doc Q, right? Burgess is going to fight someone probably decently strong. Doc Q has some weird, annoying abilities, but it doesn't seem like he's a head-on fighter, right? So we're going to go ahead and put him low. Lamework says, hey, Morj, what do you do to relax? The same thing I would recommend anyone do to relax. Also, actually, let me recommend something else. I would recommend Delta 8. I don't smoke weed much now, believe it or not. I smoke Delta 8 instead. It is nowhere near as good, but here's the difference. Delta 8 relax. Weed gets you high, right? Like, it actually, you know, it puts you in a certain state. Delta 8 is more so, it just relaxes you. That's kind of just what it does. I enjoy that because I get better sleep, I've realized, with Delta 8. I don't like being social or hanging out with people when I smoke weed. So Delta 8 is something that you can do socially. Or I'll say this, if you have any sort of, if you don't like some of the drawbacks of weed, I suppose, such as, like, not great sleep sometimes, weed can make you, it relaxes some people, it can make you get kind of like, if it can make you get anxious or paranoid or something like that, then just go with Delta 8. It gives you the same relaxing feeling of weed, but without any of the potential whatever. I still think weed's better. It's just that at the end of a long day, if it's a weekday, work day, or whatever, I would rather do Delta 8 personally. Alcohol I only drink on weekends, really just socially. Sometimes I'll have, like, I will have beers, like, occasionally to relax, just to, like, if it's just me. But that's very, very occasional. Like, it has to be randomly, I just feel like it. And then maybe I'll have, like, 1 or 2 beers or something like that. But really, in general, I don't drink unless it's social. Okay. Yeah, listen to Parvision. He breaks it down. Okay, so based on their fruits, right? Okay, hold on. Their fruits. I think of Vala Pizarro, right? Let's look at Vasco Shot's fruit in action. Vasco Shot's fruit in action, I don't think is. That should be 1087. My bad. Yeah, Vasco Shot's fruit in action, I don't think is... It's just a fire fruit, basically, right? There doesn't seem to be usable use for it outside of that. It's basically just a fire fruit. I also partly think that Vasco Shot's enemy is Brook, just because of that contrast. Yeah, I feel like it could be a fire fruit, right? That's, like, functionally, that's what it does. I can't see a clear other use of the drinking fruit. So it's just a fire fruit. I feel like Garp doesn't have to really care about it that much. Like, I don't think that it's that unique of a threat. I think we've seen so many fire abilities throughout One Piece. And the other thing is, here's the other thing with Vasco Shot. Vasco Shot, I think he's the only Straw Hat crew member that consistently shows up just to get fucked up. And obviously it's by strong characters, but it's just like, Oda seems okay with, like, oh, let me just say Blackbeard and, I don't know, Vasco Shot get fucked up. Oh, let me just say, I don't know, where's the bar scene? Who gets fucked up at the bar? Let's just say fucking, I don't know, Vasco Shot, right? Like, he's showing up consistently, I think, to get fucked up. So, like, I feel like Vasco Shot, I don't know. I don't have high hopes for how strong Vasco Shot is. Does that make sense? Like, any context I see him in, it hasn't looked impressive just yet. I feel like he's a character that Oda, so far out of the Blackbeard parts, is okay with making him look bad. Does that make sense? Sheriff Laffy, thanks for the 10. In defense of Burgess, Sabo said beating him wouldn't be easy in the Coliseum and only started stomping him after the Maramara. Sabo would have beaten Sanji as easily as Burgess on Dressrosa. Yeah, I've been a long time Burgess defender, but maybe that's just because I'm a Sabo. I think people overrate Sabo, so I think that people overrate a little bit how easily Sabo beat Burgess, because before he got the fruit, obviously Sabo was better than Burgess, but it's just like, it's not like he just wiped the floor with him. In Dressrosa, they were still fighting and stuff. It's just Sabo is clearly better. It's not like Burgess is a challenge for Sabo. I'm not saying that, but like, put it this way, it's not the same as Aokiji just drinking at a bar while half the Blackbeard pirates are just done outside. This is what a low diff looks like to me personally. You get what I'm saying? So I feel like Burgess is probably either 4 or 5. But I think Avala Pizarro is the tricky one, because Avala Pizarro has a very strong fruit. Do you guys think Burgess had this fruit when he fought Sabo? I'm curious. Did Burgess have some... I really don't have an idea about this. Did Burgess have this fruit when he fought Sabo? It doesn't seem like he made an impact in the Law fight, so I still don't think Burgess is that big of a deal. But I'm curious what you guys think. Efrain Inu says it was low diff. How's that different? I guess, I don't know. Like, I think like low diff just means that the fight's over very quickly and easily. I got the sense... Okay. I guess there's different levels of low diff. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it was a low diff. Endra Anami says Burgess wanted to eat the Maramara no Mi. Did he want to eat it, or did he just want to recover it for the crew? Burgess was swimming. That's what I was looking for. Okay, cool. I just didn't know if he wanted to recover it for the crew, or if he wanted the fruit. I don't remember the dialogue specifically. It was meant for him to eat? Okay. So in that case, I feel like Burgess is either 4 or 5, man. I'm just going to put this clarification. 4 people come at me. I feel like Burgess might be below Avala Pizarro, because I don't think the question is who's fighting Sanji, and I like the idea. A lot of us have talked about, like, the idea that Zoro fights, like, it's kind of a trade-off. Zoro fighting Shiryu because that's invisibility. Sanji fighting a souped-up version of Pika, kind of like a mix-up in terms of who they usually go up against. I like that idea. I think Avala Pizarro's got a really strong fruit. I think it's a pretty crazy fruit as far as fruits go. Moving entire islands is no joke. Like, moving entire islands it's the difference between fighting, like the way I put it before is, let's go to Pika, right? So Zoro fights Pika, probably around like 700, I think I can get it on the nose. Is it 777? Ah, there we go. Are you guys... No one's ever impressed when I do this. Do you guys see how quickly I get to these chapters? I think it's impressive. Man. Okay, so, like, Zoro cutting Pika, that's cool. But fighting Avala Pizarro is like fighting all of Dressrosa. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a huge difference in that sense. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, this is Pika, but the whole island is Dressrosa. It's like that SpongeBob scene where they fight the worm, Like, Sandy beats up the tongue, and she's like, see, that wasn't that hard. And it's like, oh wait, that was the tongue, and then the whole thing is the worm. You get what I'm saying? Like, I feel like beating Avala Pizarro is still an impressive feat. Like, it's still an impressive later game feat. You know what I mean? Dragonfire, thanks for the 5. Pizarro's island fruit seems OP, and he'll likely fight Sanji, in my opinion. Both are North Blue royalty, but Pizarro is a selfish tyrant versus selfless Sanji. I like that, man. I love hearing that. That's a great point. That's a really good point. You know what? Good Sanji. I'm gonna go ahead and put Ivalo Pizarro. I'm trying to think if there's anything else for Burgess, but I can't think of, like, I just don't think, I feel like if Oda was setting up Burgess to be Sanji's final opponent, I feel like Burgess would have made a bigger impact in the law fight, personally. Mamadou Musa says, let's just say Burgess was low diff and Aokiji kid diff the Blackbeard Pirates, high diff greater than mid diff greater than low diff greater than kid diff. Yeah, that, okay, sure. Ooh, thanks for the 2. Which Blackbeard Devil Fruit would you like to have? Katarina Devon's is the most useful in, like, real life, you know? KGB Zukov says, Laffy dodged Ace's fire strike that got the rest of the crew. His only moment getting one shot with... That's true. Laffy has never looked bad. That's the thing. Does anyone put any stock in the numbers of the crew? First captain, second captain, third captain. Does anyone put any stock in that? I'm of the opinion that Burgess is Jinbei's opponent, which is why I lean towards this. Burgess being just a bit short of Ivalo Pizarro. I could see Laffy being... Laffy does never look bad. I could see Laffy being as high as number 4, but I just have a hard time seeing it because Laffy's ability... What's Laffy's ability again? What's Laffy's ability? Where does he show up? What's the last thing he does? What is the last thing he does? Let me tell you right now. The Blackbeard Pirates that have never had a bad showing are... Like, never had a bad showing as in Oda has never made them lose in any sense, right? He's never used them to hype up another character. Are, right now, Ivalo Pizarro, Van Augur, Doc Q, and Lafitte. Van Augur and Doc Q, I think we can cross off the list as being competitors for the strongest because I think this is more so just a virtue of them being long range, like, not direct fighters. You know what I mean? So I find it more impressive. Like, I wouldn't expect that they're not involved in the mix. You know what I mean? They're not squabbers. You know what I mean? Lafitte, we don't know anything about. The only Blackbeard pirate that's consistently shown up, and Oda never makes him look bad, and he's got a strong fruit as Ivalo Pizarro, which is why I lean towards Ivalo Pizarro. Lafitte, I don't know, like... Shiryu too. I mean, from the ones remaining, you know what I mean? Shiryu, I agree. He flies... Oh, Doc Q is frozen? My bad, Doc Q is frozen. Then yeah, it's an even shorter list. Ivalo Pizarro, Van Augur, Lafitte. And Van Augur, it's an Usopp opponent, so we can put him somewhat low. I think Van Augur is probably stronger than Doc Q, though. I don't think it's unheard of for Usopp to beat someone that's stronger than Chopper's opponent, you know? Ray Uchiha, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 9 months. I've always wondered that if the Germa siblings have to listen to Judge, what happens if Judge dies? I don't get the sense that they are, like, just such mindless robots that they just operate exclusively on what Judge does. Because I did get the sense that they were making a lot of their own decisions towards the latter half of Whole Cake Island, you know? They just, they're obviously very well... conditioned robots to follow soldiers' orders, right? But I don't get the sense that they would just be lost and aimless once Judge dies. I don't think. That's just not what I got the sense of from their personalities. Like, I think Ichiji has a lot of his own agency, personally. Pizarro got nagged by Aokiji in the flashback. No, Pizarro was actually not one of the frozen ones. So the characters that got fucked up by Aokiji in the flashback... Wait! No, you're right! No. I don't see Pizarro here. Can someone point Pizarro out to me? Because this is Vasco Shot. This is obviously Doc Q. And this is San Juan Wolf. And I think that's it, right? Isn't it just these 3? Sheriff Lafitte! Oh shit, this is gonna be biased. Pizarro got one shot by Aokiji in the bar as well when Lafitte suggests killing him. Wait, he did? Shit. What the... God damn. This Aokiji is badass, though. Look at this. This is crazy. Okay. Okay, so maybe Avala Pizarro is not... So you guys think Lafitte is stronger than Avala Pizarro? Gunner455, thanks for being a Yongo tier member for 2 months. Do you think Oda would pull a wild card and do non-expected matchups for Blackbeard's crew by chance? Could you see that happening with any faction besides Blackbeard? So that's a very good question. That's something that I actually want to save for a bit later. It's not necessarily that... From what I see of the Blackbeard Pirates, I personally think it's very possible. That it's not necessarily non-expected matchups, but I think that they're set up to be very bad matchups for the Straw Hats, if that makes sense. And I'll elaborate on that in a further video. I don't want to explain all of that here. But I am like open, like it's still loose in my head, so I'm open to the idea that maybe Lafitte is here, Burgess, then Pizarro. I think that's possible too. Lafitte is cool. Oda never makes Lafitte look bad. That's very true, but I just wonder if that's more so because Lafitte is the stealth guy. But what's really interesting is Lafitte is the one that is heading over right now to Egghead Island with Katarina Devon, and they're basically... I wonder... We're gonna get an idea of how strong Lafitte is. Lafitte is cool as fuck. He does hypnosis, he can fly. We've just never seen him, like, hit anything. You know what I mean? Marco hurt Aokiji. Lol. Marco kicked him away with a surprise attack. I don't think he hurt him. Jozu hurt Aokiji. But, you know, he got hit straight up again with a surprise attack. FN says, and stop changing topics. Shiryu is overrated and will never ever be over Kuzan. I don't think Shiryu will be over Kuzan. Not even bad matchups, because I guess people are going to get very upset at the idea that I suggest, like, Shiryu might be a bad match. I think, like, how do I say? Just, like, trickier matchups specifically for the Straw Hats that I think could go against some of their strengths. Analogy, or, like, simple example, not analogy, but Blackbeard having a fruit that counteracts Luffy's Gear 5th, right? The Yami Yami no Mi. Jobber Supreme says Pizarro probably didn't have his devil fruit in the bar. That's also very possible. Okay, Pizarro versus Lafitte versus Burgess. I think one of these three... I think this is the next batch, personally. But the thing... Okay, here's the thing about Burgess. I feel like Burgess has to land somewhere here in the upper half of the crew, right? I also feel like Pizarro, by virtue of his fruit, also has to land somewhere up here in the upper half of the crew. Lafitte is the character that I think could be fourth, but I think he also could be, like, low as fuck. Like, I think he could be low. Like, it's very possible that he's just the cool stealth guy, the cool, you know, shady spy ninja type guy. You get what I'm saying? Because, again, he just doesn't seem like a combat-oriented person to me. But he also did the single most impressive thing any Blackbeard pirate has done, in my opinion, outside of Aokiji, which is sneak into Marijoa when Sengoku, Mihawk, Doflamingo, and all these other vice admirals and shit were there. And you know what's funny? Sanji's ability is Stealth Black. And I'm calling Lafitte the stealth guy. I want to give you guys a poll on it, but I know you guys are going to go vote for Lafitte. Abidrazik M, thanks for being a member for 3 months. Is there anyone on Blackbeard's crew that is Conqueror's Haki? Watch tomorrow's video. That's a great question. Watch tomorrow's video. Oof says he was able to sneak in because he's a nobody. I guess, but I still think it's impressive. Mark Zaknown, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 10 months. Was rewatching your video about the world of One Piece. Oh, dude, I actually forgot about that video. That was one of my OG videos. I think that's still a good video. Thanks for bringing that up. Now that we have the final saga set up, the way Oda set up all of his pieces is so incredible to see. It really is. We gotta appreciate it. Again, we were coming back from this 5-week break. We could have gone to any single location that has been relevant in the over the course of Egghead Island, any of those locations, and they would have all been exciting. John Smith says Brook is also stealth. Yeah. Yeah, I still lean towards Vasco shot versus Brook. It's not strength. It's not strength. You're right. It's stealth. I'll do a poll just to see, but I'm not going to go off of the poll. And while I'm doing the poll, you guys, I'm going to get some water real quick. What's the poll? Lafitte versus Avalo Pizarro? Is that the poll? What's funny is next chapter we'll get a good idea. Because, I mean, the way this chapter ends is... it seems like it's ready to... Part of it, you know what? Part of my bias towards Avalo, which I acknowledge is bias, is just because of the... I thought that this was a cool way to end the chapter, honestly. Like, because it's overall... Right? We're, in general, getting a sense of, like, things slowly slipping away, getting out of hand. This is, by the way, what tension looks like. For those of you who read Wano and completely forgot that such a thing exists. I'm just kidding. They were just the latest anime episode because people have been posting and talking about it. Obviously, there's currently tension in Wano. Wano had tension moments. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just talking about the entirety of the arc. But in this small section of storytelling, right? In this chapter, we can feel a strong sense of tension as we head towards the end. We see the hero of the Marines clearly, slowly losing it. He says this, but it's hard to believe. Don't lose your head. Justice will prevail. You can feel the sense of incoming tragedy because it's reflected in the emotional state of the characters. That's what tension is, by the way. And I really like that Oda kind of caps it. I think because for me, it felt very memorable, the ending to this chapter. I thought this was a really exciting chapter, partly just because of the way the final pages played out, with Volo Pizarro giving this speech. I don't know. It felt very dramatic and memorable to me. Whether or not anything comes of it in next chapter, he just, like, Garp just crushes this giant hand, which I could totally see happening. That's not the point. It's more so just the impression I'm getting from him. Felt very impactful to me. So I'm mentally biased towards him just because I just like this closing little speech by him. It felt like this is the start of the Blackbeard Pirates getting hyped up. And it starts with this guy being the one to really step up and say, hey, don't forget about us, you know? This is a holy shit, this is a tight poll. It's at 52%, 48%. I'm going to give it a minute. I'm going to grab some water. I'll be right back. All right. And Laffy takes it. John Smith says Laffy was confident he could kill Avalo. I forgot about that. Man. Vince K with a great point. How does the island food even work? Islands are surrounded by seawater, LMAO. I don't know. Shonen Academia, that's a funny comment. Aokiji number 1. Doc Q's horse is canonically stronger. It is funny. This is... The only problem with putting Laffy here is that it's such a jump. It's such a... Like... It's such a bold pick. Like, it could be believable, but it's just based on so little. You know what I mean? Like, it's just based on so little right now. Little. Because we know Burgess is somewhat impressive, right? We know Pizarro has a crazy fruit. Alright. Cole Miller says, what did Laffy do against Ace again? People were saying Laffy dodged. Let's take a look. I don't really look much at what any of these Blackbeard pirates did against Ace, but what chapter is this? 444? 441? Okay. So Van Augur shoots him. He has no hockey. Doesn't Van Augur also dodge Ace? How impressive is it to dodge? You wouldn't stand a chance. Lafitte is the only one it looks like to dodge. That's cool. Shit. That is cool. What's also interesting is that Lafitte's the only one that gets his own sort of separate introduction from the rest of the crew, besides Shiryu, with Lafitte introducing himself at Marijoa. I guess, I don't know why, I just can't imagine Lafitte as a Sanji opponent. He just doesn't seem like a Sanji opponent to me, but I get it. He's fast. He's stealthy, like Sanji's stealthy, I guess. Why is this so hard? I don't know what to say here. Is Hidden Island here too? What's going on, man? Okay. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to move Lafitte away for now. And we'll get back to him. Alright? We'll get back to him. For now, we'll put this here. We'll put this here. Okay. Burgess, Pizarro. I'm going to say San Juan Wolf goes in right here. I think there's no way San Juan Wolf is above Pizarro because Pizarro's an island. And San Juan Wolf is, you know, he's the size of a battleship, but I don't think that holds up that well, right? Van Augur is an Usopp opponent. Doc U's a Chopper opponent. I'm going to keep them lower. So let's cross some of these guys off the list and move things along, right? Van Augur, Doc Q, Burgess. Yeah, we got to follow Pizarro out of there. We got San Juan Wolf out of there. I don't know if Katarina Devon's supposed to be that strong. I really don't. I don't think she is. I feel like she's not. KGB Zukov says his feats are stealth, speed, and hypnosis. Not really impressive combat-wise, but cool. That's what I feel about him, man. That's how I feel about him. But people think he's a Sanji opponent. I just don't think he's a Sanji opponent. Wait, let me ask this. Who's a more likely Sanji opponent? Pizarro or Lafitte? Who is a more likely Sanji opponent? Wait, no, that's the same question, basically, though. I'll ask it just for fun. Oh, let's get the stream likes to 500. I feel like Katarina ranks towards the bottom. And then I feel like Vasco Shot is... because this is Usopp, this is Chopper. I feel like Vasco Shot is Brook. Or it's Laffy. Okay, so it looks like more people think he fights Laffy. We went over this one other stream. I forget what people landed on. Did people think that Pizarro's opponent is Frankie? Was that what people think? Frankie or Jinbei? I feel like Burgess makes more sense for... no, Frankie versus Burgess could make sense because Frankie often fights those really manly characters. But Burgess is also helmsman and just fits kind of strength versus strength. F, thanks for the 5. Who do you think was Blackbeard's number 2 before Shiryu joining? Whoever that is, your number 4 in the ranking. And Sanji's opponent. before Shiryu joining, I thought that Burgess was number 2. But that's like, so much has changed since then. We had so little information. Sanji's not fighting. I just don't like. I included Aokiji here to include Aokiji, but to me, saying Sanji fights Aokiji in the endgame as though Aokiji is legitimately just this evil, terrible person trying to like on the Blackbeard Pirate's side at the endgame, I think is such a disservice to his character. Like, we've been through this shit before with Aokiji. We understand that there's so like he's not written like any of the other Blackbeard pirates. They're written like pieces of shit. Aokiji's Aokiji. He's one of the most morally nuanced and deep characters in the story, who clearly has his own story that is much more important than the rest of the like. These are just bad guys at the end. Like, it's just a gang of bad guys. Aokiji's story is clearly something that's like a real character story that's developing. There's a lot of meaning to it. It's basically like, who do you think is gonna fight Fujitora? Like, which Strahd fights Fujitora at the end of the story? It's like, I don't even count any of the Strahds fighting Fujitora. Fujitora is just, why would he be fighting to save the Celestial Dragons at the end of the story? It just doesn't seem like it fits. We literally saw Fujitora fight against Green Bull when it came down to it, you know? Just because Aokiji's on the Blackbeard Pirates side right now, it really doesn't. I'm not gonna entertain the thought of like, oh well, who are the matchups for him fighting? Like, unless we see something that significantly changes our perception of Aokiji as a character, as though, wait, Aokiji might have had some revelation that he should just be a giant piece of shit or something like unless there's a clear dark side turn or something like that, I'm not counting Aokiji among the ranks of these guys, because they're just pieces of shit, man. Like, they're not the same as Aokiji. With Aokiji, where we left off, it was very clear that he has a hidden motivation, and Oda is not expressing to us just yet what that motivation is. All we can do is watch what he's doing, but very clearly why he's doing it is still being hidden from us. Kino the Far, thanks for the 2. Can Teach's black hole absorb water? I think it would be. Oh shit, I don't know. I feel like it should be. I think it can. The reason being, like, Aokiji's ice can freeze water, right? So I feel like maybe there's just some level of I don't know. Like, sometimes it's like, oh, water just cancels out anything Devil Fruit related, like with Moria stuff. Other times it's just like, no, Devil Fruit users can mostly do a lot of shit to water. Like, Oven can boil water, Aokiji can freeze water. As long as they're not submerged, they're still able to exercise a lot of their abilities. So, I don't know. Aokiji versus Yamato? Shit, are we counting Yamato? Complicate the fuck out of things. I'm not going to count Yamato for now. That's one too many hypotheticals. Reichia, thanks for the 5. I think we're forgetting that Bizarre talks like a cat and Nami's the cat burglar. What is Nami going to do against an island? I just don't understand. I know Jagrawal says, after all the Sabo disrespect, Burgess is number 3, LMAO. I thought that, yeah, but you said, I think people were like, before Sabo, or before Shiryu joined, who do you think was Blackbeard's number 2 guy? I thought Burgess seemed like the second strongest guy. Hoops, I missed a question from Hoops. What's the question? Hoops also says how much money it was. The car? What? My car? How much money what was? Loud Waffle says, erode it with rain? Yeah, if somebody shows up with a time Devil Fruit, so that we can make the fight take place over the process of, what, 30,000 years, then yeah, Nami's rainwater would be super effective against that island. I feel like I lowballed it too. I think erosion takes place over a long ass period of time, right? Erode the island with Zeus. Hoops says no, my super check cost. Okay, Hoops, just tell me what your super was. Actually, I can find it right now. I mean, like, we saw when Zeus is really eating a bunch of those weather eggs, he can leave a nice crater in the ground, but there's a big difference between leaving a nice crater in the ground and, like, being able to destroy all of Whole Cake Island. You know what I'm saying? Like, What I'm talking about is if you look at Whole Cake Island, Zeus is used in the forest, leaves a nice crater. You know, it's a big crater. It's big enough to have Big Mom in it, but I never got the sense Zeus could destroy the entire island. Hoops asked, "Are you still smoker for Straw Hat?" In my heart, yes. In my head, no. You know, since Aokiji's a Blackbeard member now. No, unfortunately, I can't. I would love to believe it, but smokers just think that we might be out of Straw Hat characters at this point. This is too hard. Find the island's weak spot? I guess that would be Avala Pizarro, wouldn't it? Maybe if Nami unlocks observation hockey. One thing I really hope would be for Nami to unlock observation hockey. I think that'd be so cool. The reason I think it'd be so cool is just because it feels so like Nami just really feels like a person that doesn't like all of this magic shit over the course. Like, you know, she's just a normal person trying to stay normal as much as she can. It would be so cool if she picks up on observation hockey and she's just able to tap into this magic, you know? Alright, back to this. I think Vasco Shot ranks below San Juan Wolf. I feel like Vasco Shot might be above Katarina Devon because Oda tends to, you know, I think Oda doesn't usually make women that strong among crews. One Piece really doesn't have a lot of... I'm not going to talk about that. Yeah, this is what I feel like it shakes out something like this right now. Something like this. And then Lafitte's the big question mark. Here's the thing. I think Pizarro is stronger than Burgess if... I think that if Lafitte is... Okay. I think there's two versions. Here's what I've landed on. Two versions. All right, version 1. All right, version 1 is this. Lafitte, Burgess... Fuck. Lafitte, Burgess, Pizarro. I feel like this is version 1. Version 2. Oh wait, I gotta scroll up slightly more. Version 2 is something like Aokiji, Shiryu, and then we've got Pizarro, Burgess, San Juan Wolf, I feel like there's a version where Lafitte ranks way lower. You get what I'm saying? Like a version where like either of Lafitte is a really strong combatant, and that's why he's been kind of kept safe by Oda so far, or Lafitte is really just a stealth guy, in which case, honestly, probably something like... Would Lafitte be above Katarina Devon? I don't know. You get what I'm saying? You guys picking up what I'm putting down? Dragonfire, thanks for the 2. Burgess versus Jinbei, Helmsman, martial arts, so he's number 5. I think in both versions I've got him at 5. Yeah, the question is who fights Sanji. So let's say in this... Okay, looking at this version, right? Looking at version number 1, my guess is no one fights Aokiji in both versions, right? Version number 1, if I had to guess, it's something like Blackbeard. I'm going to say he fights Luffy. Crazy. Yeah. Shiryu Zoro, obviously. Version 1, I think Lafitte fights Sanji. Burgess fights Jinbei. Pizarro fights Frankie, I guess. Is San Juan Wolf fighting Robin? Seems kind of crazy. San Juan Wolf fighting Robin. I guess because Robin can turn giant and shit. Vasco Shot fighting Brooke. Katarina Devon fighting Nami. Van Augur versus Usopp. Docu versus Chopper. Right. Version 2. Aokiji, now no one fighting him. Blackbeard fights Luffy. Shiryu fights Zoro. Pizarro fights Sanji. Burgess fights Jinbei. San Juan Wolf fights Frankie? Battleship versus Shipwright. Vasco Shot fights Brooke? Now we've lost the picture. This makes more sense. Vasco Shot fights Brooke. Katarina Devon fights Robin. Lafitte fights Nami. Navigator. Van Augur fights Usopp. Docu fights Chopper. Devon is definitely fighting a woman. There's no way. Devon definitely fights either. Version 2. Okay. Let me explain the reasoning for version 1 and version 2, right? These things should be obvious, right? Zoro, Shiryu, Blackbeard, Luffy, right? Version 1, Lafitte fighting Sanji because Lafitte is speed-based, right? Speed-based, stealth-based. Sanji's thing is also speed, stealth to a degree, right? And Lafitte has also been made to generally look good and not made to get fucked up over the course of the story. Lafitte also had his nice little unique introduction at Marijoa, which is a really cool introduction in the story. So in a sense, Lafitte is cool in that way, right? Like, Lafitte feels like an untouchable member of the Blackbeard Pirates so far, but he also has no combat stuff. I don't know. Either he's really strong or he's just a stealth guy. This version, Lafitte fights Sanji. Burgess, Helmsman versus Jinbei makes sense. They're both strong, physical fighting-based characters. I think that makes sense in both versions. Pizarro fighting... I think I have Pizarro fighting Frankie here. Just because Frankie is probably one of the few characters that has the firepower to take on Pizarro. You know what's interesting is I also think that Frankie builds Pluton by the end of the story. And Pluton is built to destroy islands, which I think would be a cool use of it, to just use it to take out Pizarro. San Juan Wolf fighting Robin, giant form versus a really fucking giant form, right? Vasco Shot versus Brooke, that's fire versus ice. Nami, Katarina Devon, that's woman versus woman. Usopp, Van Augur goes without saying. Docu, Chopper goes without saying. Version 2. These two go without saying, right? Here we have Pizarro versus Sanji, just because it would kind of be like a reverse... a reverse typical matchup. You know, like, you would have Zoro fighting Invisible Man, while Sanji this time fights Giant Rock Monster, right? Obviously, both of them much stronger than the earlier versions of the opponents that both of them fought. So, in this sense, you get a kind of a trade-off, right? Both characters facing matchups that are a little, like, outside of their usual comfort zone, that force them to exercise a different type of strength than they normally have to flex. So I think that would be cool, right? I think that's a nice parallel if Zoro fights Shiryu, Sanji fights Pizarro. Also just because, I don't know, I got the sense that Oda's slowly hyping up Pizarro, in a sense, and he's making him look the coolest out of the Blackbeard Pirates here, minus Shiryu, obviously. Burgess, Jinbei, no explanation needed, same thing as before. San Juan Wolf versus Frankie. It sounds like a bit of a stretch here, but I would say, like, San Juan Wolf's moniker is the battleship. Frankie, creator of ships. Maybe giant Gundam Frankie versus San Juan Wolf. I think that could be cool. General Frankie, or like a giant mech version of Frankie fighting San Juan Wolf. I think that could be cool. Vasco Shot versus Brooke. I think, again, this fits just because fire versus ice. Katarina Devon versus... Robin in this situation, because Katarina Devon shapeshifts a lot, which I think is a great matchup against Robin, who her ability is very malleable itself, tries to pin characters down. Then Lafitte versus Nami, because in this version we're saying, well, what if Lafitte's not a great fighter? He's just very tricky, very hard to catch, right? I think that could be good, because Nami, I think, would be forced to exercise... One, it's navigator versus navigator, so similar roles, similar significance in the story. But on top of that, it would be Nami being forced to deal with an opponent that isn't just going to easily get hit by her attacks, which a lot of her opponents do. Then Van Auger.q, I think, go without saying. You guys get what I'm saying? Like, I think there's solid arguments for either version. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 5. Pizarro's fruit is likely useless in the open water. Luckily, Moria parked the solution to that problem in front of Hachinosu in chapter 925. Did Moria bring all of Thriller Bark here? Is he an idiot? That is hilarious. That's an interesting point. You think he couldn't walk around with the island is probably what you're saying, right? He did bring all of Thriller Bark here. Also, that's kind of... like, really think about it. Hachinosu looks a lot bigger than Thriller Bark. I think Pizarro's fruit is genuinely really impressive. Like... it's bigger than all of Thriller... The entire fucking arc of Thriller Bark took place here. And Pizarro can casually move around something way bigger than all of Thriller Bark. That's pretty impressive to me. Kino the Far, thanks for the 2. Also, thoughts on Pluton being Frankie plus Sunny. Like, already made? I think Frankie over time will create Pluton. And I think that if there's a situation where Frankie's fighting, I don't know, like let's say Pizarro, then I could definitely see Frankie utilizing Pluton in his own battle or something like that. I don't know. What do you guys think is more likely out of version 1 versus version 2? And I'm just going to take... no, I'll keep Aokiji in there. I don't know. God damn it. What did I do? Hello? Oh, I see what I did. Okay, there we go. Alright, what do we think is more likely between these two? And you know what? We're gonna do one more thing here. Matchups. I'm taking Aokiji out of it again for the sake of just matchups. Matchups, we got Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei, Frankie, Robin, Brook, Nami, Usopp, Chopper. I think it's pretty much the same thing here, right? I think Zoro fight... Oops. Yeah, I think Zoro fights Shiryu, Sanji Pizarro, Berg is Jinbei, Frankie, yep. Nope. In this version, I think Robin is above Brook, so I'm going to swap these. Yeah, these are the two versions. Let me zoom in one more time. I know that these two matchup columns are the same thing, but it's just for ease of visually understanding what's going on, right? All right. What is the correct version? What is the correct ranking of the Blackbeard Pirates? We got version 1, version 2. All right. You guys take a look. Think about it. Think about it. Reflexy, thanks for the donation. Blackbeard crew feeling so underwhelming for the endgame right now, not gonna lie. I think this is the moment. I think flow of the fight, two things, right? I think flow of the fight, right? So right now where we're at, I think most of the beginning of this, it's to hype up Garp, right? Garp shows up, does a big galaxy impact, then he throws Aokiji down, right? Then he's kind of like spanking the Blackbeard Pirates and stuff. It's supposed to hype up Garp. I think then where we're at as the chapter comes to a close, I think we're getting an idea of, we all knew that this is not going to end well for Garp, right? So I think that we are getting an idea that, like, he's saying, like, Oda's aware. That's the thing. Oda's very self-aware in terms of conversations among readers. All you see in the papers is Blackbeard this and Blackbeard that. It's high time we got a crack at the spotlight, right? So we might be speaking too soon. I think that Oda is aware, and I think that in this moment we are going to get to see a better showcase of the Blackbeard Pirates here. As for underwhelming in general, I think that they're not set to be the final opponents of the story. I just don't think they are. I don't know if Hidden Island's still in chat. I don't know if Paravision is, but they were both talking about Blackbeard potentially being the final villain and not his crew. So two separate things. I could see that, but in general, I feel like the world government is just being built up a bit more right now. Not a bit more, significantly more right now. I think the Blackbeard Pirates are the last pirate group for the Straws to fight. For them to be underwhelming, at the end of the day, it's kind of like, as long as they're stronger than the Beast Pirates, as long as they're a more difficult battle for the Straw Hats than the Beast Pirates, I think it's fine. That's all they really need to be. So, all that being said, let me pull up the versions again. You guys take a quick look. What do we think is more likely in their strength ranking? I think a lot of you might not even agree with my Straw Hat strength ranking, but I feel like it's right. Like, these are the characters: Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei. I think that should have no debate. Frankie being above Robin, I think that feels right. I think Brook is in between. I think Brook is stronger than the Weakling trio. I don't think Oda's done as much for him as like Jinbei, Frankie, Robin. I feel like this is fine, personally. All right. I also think that the lower you go with the Straw Hats in their overall ranking, I think the less that it matters, personally. So if you guys disagree about Brook or Robin or something, I don't really care that much. I don't think it's a big deal. Shonen Academia, thank you. What if the final fight is Davy Backfight? I don't think it is. I don't think it would be. All right, guys. What version are we rolling with? All right, ready? Moment of truth. You guys take a good look. Think about it. Visualize in your heads what makes more sense. And get the stream likes to 500. Everyone hit the like button. We'll get the stream likes right up there. Alright. I'll do the poll once we get the stream likes to 500. How about that? Robin greater than Frankie? I have Frankie above Robin, I think. Alright, I'm just going to do the poll. Ready? Oh, this is tight. This is pretty tight. The Lorax, thanks for the 5. Someone mentioned that maybe Emu reset the world before the Void Century. Maybe he plans to do it again, and that's the time bomb for the final arc. Oh, that would be dope. That would be really cool. This is something I talked about before the end of this. Before, maybe it was in a previous stream or something like that, but like, everyone talks about, or maybe a Morjcast. Everyone talks about the Void Century. It's like, oh, there's this century where no one knew anything that happened. No one talks about before the Void Century either. It's not like people are like, oh yeah, like 800 years ago. That 800 to 900 years ago, we have no idea what happened then. No, you guys, nobody even talks about like 900 to 1,000 years ago. Like, no one, there's a whole, feels like everything before the Void Century is just a big question mark. This is crazy tight. This is neck and neck. I'm just going to let this roll for a bit. Pat Galley, thanks for the 2. Mystic Morgillian, how was the stream? I missed it. It was a fun stream. It's a fun stream. The same thing I said towards the beginning of the stream, which is that, like, for a lot of these, like, if I'm doing a strength ranking or something, I'm usually not coming into it with a clear ranking in my head from the start. Part of the fun for me is going back through and really, like, I have a solid idea for a lot of stuff, right? But I hadn't fully thought out like who I think the strongest Blackbeard pirates are. I had the top few in my mind, but part of the fun is I think hearing different arguments, going back through, getting reminders. Like, there's lots of things you just don't remember and miss out on. Like, I didn't realize that I missed out that that Aokiji froze a Vala Pizarro right here. Pretty easily too. I didn't think that what do you call? There was something Laffy dodged Ace's move pre-time skip, which was kind of cool. All right, it looks like I'm gonna give it 30 seconds. It looks like it's really tight still. Mango the God says, I somewhat agree with the version 1 matchup, but version 2 lineup. That's true. Those are two different things, aren't they? That's an interesting way to put it. I kind of went beyond the scope of what the stream is supposed to be by including the matchups. Maybe I'll do a version without including the matchups. All right. At this moment, just by a hair's breadth, it looks like version 1 wins. Let's do one more poll just to see if we take the matchups out of the equation, right? So if we delete this column, right? If we delete this column. Just out of curiosity, if we ignore the matchups, because that was me going past the scope of what this stream is meant to be, then let's just do one more poll just to see. Because what's funny? Earlier in the stream, I even said that the Straw Hat strength ranking doesn't have to perfectly line up with the matchups that they end up getting. Now people are leaning towards version 2 a little bit more. Well, no, it's about tied again. Regia, thanks for the 5. I think it'd be funny if after the Straw Hats versus Blackbeards, Sanji finally gets the clear fruit. You think Zora's gonna kill him? That'd be crazy. But still can't spy on Nami because she has haki. That would be, to be clear, in real life, such a thing is not comical. But in the context of One Piece and how One Piece treats, in the gag version of the gag tune universe of One Piece and how characters react to perversion, right? In that context, it would be funny, right? All right, I'm going to give it 30 seconds. Bachira says, if Frankie uses Pluton to destroy Pizarro, Pluton greater than Sanji in terms of power. I don't think that's the first time that's even happened. Like, you could argue that Monster Chop, like, I think there's been plenty of times in the story that certain characters have more attack power than characters stronger than them. Like, Monster Chopper was probably stronger than Sanji and any Slobby, I mean, Monster Chopper was pretty fucking nuts in any Slobby. It literally one-shotted Kumadori. It was pretty nuts. It's hard to compare Monster Chopper to anything pre-time skip, because Monster Chopper was chucking mountains around when it was being used against the Yeti Cool Brothers. Like, it was pretty Monster Chopper was fucking up the Yeti Cool Brothers is the thing. So Monster Chopper was like a New World level power up that Chopper had accidentally gotten very early. You know what I mean? Like, now it's not a big deal, obviously, but you get what I'm saying? Caleb Brown, thanks for the 5. Morj, is it possible that York leaked? Dude, I fucking forgot about York. There's so much going on. It's fucking insane. Oh, let's get the stream likes to 500. We only need 2 more. Is it possible that York leaked / gave Vegapunk's mother flame to the world government without Vegapunk knowing about it, thinking it'll make her a celestial dragon? First, can someone confirm to me whether Mother Flame or Frame is accurate? I'm still a little bit off about that. Loser says Kumadori is a bum. Come on, man. I mean, Kumadori was like slightly weaker than Bluno, like barely. Like, the cool thing about CP9 is we don't need to debate that much because Oda gave us also the straight up power rankings. The only time we know exactly the gap between everybody, minus Devil Fruit abilities and such like that. But you know, in terms of just straight up fighting ability, Kumadori's just shy of, like, Kumadori's above Fukuro, you know. I'm going to give it 30 seconds. But the York thing is interesting. I wonder, though, if the Mother Flame is, like, if that's the eternal power source that they have, that Vegapunk wants, that happens to be very useful for powering his machine, but obviously the world government's not going to give him access to it. I don't know. Yeah, I get the Mother Frame thing. I get it. But I'm saying, in actuality, are we supposed to interpret it as a flame? It's not the same as, like, the name of Alabasta. This is actually fucking... I don't think I've seen a poll on this channel that has been dead even 50-50 or 49-51 for this long. Usually one slowly edges out the other. I've seen them at 50-50 for a while, but usually slowly one edges out the other. This is exciting. I don't know what to do. I feel like, get your votes in. Everyone get your votes in. We're going to put a timer on. All right, we'll put a timer on. Do a 30-second timer. Really think about it. All right. There we go. You guys can see a timer in the side of the screen, right? Really think about it. Power Vision says, I think it's Mother Frame because Mother Caramel situation. And there'll be a flame element. I don't see how Mother Caramel connects to this. I feel like Vegapunk's energy source, like, it just makes more sense to me to be Vegapunk's energy source. So flame makes more sense to me. Or something related to energy. Peter Falk, thanks for the 5. Oh shit, we ran out of time. Alright, we're ending the poll. Okay, version 1 wins again. Oh, people got in a lot of votes towards the end. It was it's tied at 50-50 for so long, but in the end, another 5% margin of victory for version 1. All right, so this is it. You know what it is? I think a lot of it hinges on... It's really... I think ultimately so much of it hinges on Sanji's opponent, you know? I think almost everything hinges on Sanji's opponent, because once we know... If we knew whether Sanji's opponent made more sense as Lafitte or makes more sense as Bizarro, I think almost everything else just clicks into place. Like, let's say Sanji's opponent is Lafitte. In that case, I think most would agree that Jinbei makes sense for Burgess. I think most would agree that Pizarro makes sense for Frankie, because feasibly, it's really hard for any of the Straw Hat to beat Pizarro. San Juan Wolf, I can understand people not liking her as a Robin opponent, maybe Katarina Devon. San Juan Wolf is still tricky, but I think Robin could be a good matchup. I think Vasco Shot Brook works. I think Nami tends to fight the girls, so this works, and then these obviously work. Flip side, if Sanji's opponent is Pizarro, again, I think most would agree Jinbei fights Burgess. I think some might think Lafitte fights Brook, or Lafitte fights Nami, in which case maybe Nami still fights this, Robin still fights this. Maybe Frankie fights Vasco. I don't know, but I think it becomes so much easier to figure out the rest. You know what I mean? But Sanji's opponent is just really tricky to figure out. And usually it's not. Like, usually you can just look at something and be like, yeah, Zoro's going to fight Mr. 1, Sanji will probably fight Mr. 2. And Zoro's going to fight Kaku, Sanji will probably fight Jabura. Although, Oda did leave us waiting to the last moment to confirm that matchup. Made us think Usopp's going to fight Jabura instead. Zoro's going to fight King, Sanji's going to fight Queen. Usually it's pretty straightforward. Reflexi says, doesn't Robin fight girls too? Yeah, but Nami always fights women is the thing. I don't think Nami's had... Skypiea, she fought the siblings or whatever of that one of Hattori. Hotori and Kotori? Might be wrong. Am I totally remembering? They're fucking annoying. Is that their name? Yeah. She fought Hotori and Kotori, younger brothers of Satori. Hattori is the pigeon. Right? Yeah. Sorry, getting my Tories mixed up. But yeah, in general, though, Nami always fights women. Robin, she's only had 2 fights, but again, one of them was against women. I don't know. It's tricky. Peter Fox says, lol at Morj saying thanks for my super for forgetting to read it. That's... Shit, did that happen? Do you think the rest of the Straw Hats need to learn hockey in order for Luffy's crew to truly top Shanks' crew? Doc U versus Chopper had me thinking. I personally don't think so. Because I like the idea that, you know, like, Robin didn't show hockey and she beat Black Maria didn't show. We assume that Toby Roppo had hockey, right? Like, Frankie didn't beat some hockeyless loser, right? That'd be weird. You know? I don't know. Nami, well, she got, like, Big Mom mostly did most of the work. Come on. You guys get what I'm saying, right? Like, the hockey situation, like, I like the idea that the Straw Hats are a very unique crew because they all play to their unique strengths. Shanks' crew, it seems more uniform. It seems very likely that they're all, you know, hockey-type users. I think Blackbeard's crew seems more uniform in that they're all Devil Fruit-reliant characters. I think Kaido's crew seems, you know, uniform in the sense that they're all Zoan-type. Big Mom are all food-type Devil Fruit users. I like that the Straw Hats are truly a unique crew where everybody is really, really good at being themselves, if that makes sense. And for some characters, that includes utilizing hockey. For some characters, that includes just being really good at what they're good at. And you don't need to learn something necessarily outside of your wheelhouse when you can just play to your own strength. And I think that that's something that's really cool about the Straw Hats and the way that they've been written throughout the story. That being said, you know, it'd be cool to see Nami get a hockey bloom and learn observation hockey like Usopp did. I feel like it fits her character, but I don't think it's necessary, you know? Yeah, I think we didn't really get visible confirmation of the Toby Roppo using hockey. At the end of the day, hockey's not always visible. Armament hockey is not always visible. So it's possible that they were all using it. But they definitely didn't use black coding, you know. All right. I am pretty much going to call it there. This was a fun stream. Definitely excited for this week's coming chapter. Loser says, come on, everyone in the New World has basic hockey. They should, right? I mean, fucking Tashigi has it. And Tashigi doesn't use black coding, as far as we saw. Alright, guys. We are going to call it there. Thank you for tuning in. This was a fun stream. Yeah. I think watch out for tomorrow's video because it is heavily focused on the Blackbeard Pirates, which is partly why I want to just do some fun stream topic on the Blackbeard Pirates. It sucks that we got a break week coming up next week again, but honestly, if we lasted that 5-week break week, then like now I'm just like, oh, another break. That doesn't mean anything to me. It's not a big deal. And yeah, watch out for tomorrow's video. And obviously, I'll stream again Thursday. Talk to you guys later.